The little girl considered herself the main heroine of this world when she was little. Lovely shoes, a lacy dress, soft pudding with little pieces of sugar, and a garden with beautiful butterflies, and also the boundless love of her parents. The little girl considered herself the happiest girl on earth. But when she received the book, she learned the truth about her father's sudden death, and the series of misfortunes that followed was just an unfunny joke to me, who wanted to make a villain out of her. Robelia was his princess, and he promised to give her everything she wanted. She was 3 years old then. In this coffin lies her father, James Ephelentia. Behind them, the women were talking about how he was probably killed, but they said there was no proof, and it was just a suspicion. As for the family's money, the inheritance would go to Countess Julia, but many thought that this was nonsense. This woman is half gypsy, and for a half-breed to inherit such a fortune is too much. Many of her wished to take possession of the family's wealth. In addition, the will may be declared invalid. And then, Malone, Robelia's father's brother, and her uncle arrived. They all want to get a piece of the inheritance. Therefore, the gentleman said from afar that if she wanted to keep her mouth, she should marry him. She must understand that they are a family and must protect Robelia. So the woman said she agreed to marry him. It was a great decision. Julia had no management experience, so she had no choice. She only believed that this way she would protect her family and her daughter. Well, there was one condition: Robelia had to inherit all the property. Uncle swore on the honor of the deceased James. However, soon after the wedding, Malone's true nature emerged. Julia refused to accept the family inheritance. Malone noted that this was very good, but something was missing. If the blood of his sample flows in this child, then it has a higher status than his. Julia screamed and asked how he could say such a thing to a child who had just recently lost his father. He is her uncle. After all, Malone convinced everyone that James is not Robelia's father. He also dealt with the other contenders and then intimidated Julia and kicked her out of the family shortly before her death. Julia couldn't leave her daughter with him, so she agreed to lie about the baby's origin in order to escape from Malone's clutches. They and their daughter came to the outskirts to live there peacefully. At the age of 13, Robelia fell ill with a strange malaria. Malone said that he had no need to save the child. He's yellow, so she'll die, and tells her not to forget that the only reason she's still alive is because of his reputation. Julia said that if he healed her, she would give him what had stunned him. He helped arrange for her to be admitted to a capital temple for treatment, although he considers them parasites. A generous and merciful aristocrat in public who received them with their mother. In fact, Malone considered them pests. The man's ex-wife came to them and said that because of her, she had to end the marriage with him. And even now, he doesn't love her or her daughter. That's why she considered this woman a villain. Julia, who could not stand Josephine's bullying, lost consciousness. This surprised everyone so much that they even called a doctor. But Julia was ill for 2 months. Robelia fell asleep on the move because she did not leave her mother's bedside. Suddenly, her mother said something to her, and the girl immediately woke up and was very glad that her mother had woken up. Julia, I asked my daughter why this happened to them, because she just wanted a quiet life for her daughter. Everything she wished for did not come true. And after that, the woman began to die. She talked about her daughter, that she believed in her, and Robelia asked her mother not to talk anymore because she was getting worse. Julia began to ask her daughter for forgiveness, and she burst into tears, begging her mother not to talk. The woman did not understand at all where she had gone wrong, and after these words, she died. Robelia cried very loudly and did not understand why this was happening to them and what they had done wrong. Shocked by her mother's death, Robelia fainted, and then she learned about the existence of the original collection of secrets of this world. Now she knew the whole reason why her mother died. All the suffering was useless. Things that belonged to her were stolen. And then she woke up and wondered how long she had been unconscious. Robelia didn't quite understand where her mother was because there was no one on the bed. Malone entered the room and said that if she had woken up, he wanted to tell her that her mother had been cremated. They could not bury her with her family because she was involved in unholy deeds. Robelia was simply horrified, and I don't understand what he is allowing himself to do. He took everything that belongs to her. Suddenly, her mother came to her and asked her to take revenge. Then the girl heard someone's voice. Perhaps it was just her imagination, asking her to take revenge, and then no one would leave her again. Mom asked her not to give away anything that was rightfully hers. Robelia decided that she would definitely take revenge, and then everything would return to its place. Robelia lay unconscious for 4 days, and great magic appeared to her. It was definitely gypsy magic. When they had already left the city, she saw her mother casting a spell to strangle a chicken. She never told the girl about the gypsies or about magic, but when in a dream she saw her with her own eyes, gypsy blood boiled in her veins, and Robelia understood everything instinctively. The story in this book is real. The main character of the book was named Anna Malone's daughter and Robelia's cousin, and Robelia was the villain. She hated Ina because she thought that Malone and Josephine loved her with all their hearts. She mocked her in every possible way, but the worst thing was that she even used gypsy blood to cast a curse on her. Ina, tortured by Robelia, met the protagonist. They united against Robelia, and after all the events, they even inherited Malone's enormous fortune. In this story, Robelia was the villain because it was written from Ina's point of view. But if it had been written by Robelia, it would have been completely different. Mom never told her about Malone's evil plans, nor that she was a real child of the Effalentia family. Robelia was too young to understand. Without this knowledge, she would have followed the written story, but not now. Everything will change, and she will take revenge on Malone. And to do this, she needs to prove that she is part of the Effalentia family. The real birth certificate has already been destroyed by Malone, but there is something he is not aware of. It is the baptismal document. She doesn't know where to look for him. Even in the book, he is mentioned only in passing, but she decided that she is going to him. And even if she becomes part of the family, she will be destroyed before she can do anything. So she needs an accomplice, someone who can protect her. There is already a person who would fit this role. 3 years ago, a fencing masters tournament was held. Aina asked her sister how everything was going and whether it was fun there, and also asked her to come to her more often. This girl is the daughter of a gypsy, and she came here without any shame. To corner an opponent and force him to surrender was very disrespectful on the part of an aristocrat, and no one understood at all how he could allow himself to do such a thing. Now everyone knew that the rumors of his ruthlessness were true. The rival was dead, Jade Parado, the head of the duchy. In the original, he was an opponent of the protagonist's policies and ideology. He's another villain. Robelia isn't sure she can count him as an ally. She remembered the contents of the book, no longer needed a draft, but she decided to at least try since she had nothing to lose anyway. The estate of the Duke of Parado, an illegitimate girl of the Effalentia family, has come to them. She used a letter from Malone as a pretext to meet the Duke. She had to lie. No one will suspect anything. She is constantly at the beck and call of noble families. The Duke turned to her and said that she had brought a letter from Count Effalentius, red and cold like blood, and ice his eyes. Even under this suit, one can feel his barbaric nature. The same look she saw when she was 15. The Duke asked where it was and what was needed. The girl asked to sit down. The Duke said she could do as she wished, and that was where it would all begin. She said the delivery of the letter was a lie. The Duke was not surprised. He would not have entrusted the letter to the daughter of a servant. The girl noted that he still let her into the house, and this meant that he wanted to listen to her. That's right. He was just curious why an illegitimate daughter and family would come to him, and even lie fearing being caught. Robelia said she was there to make a deal with the Duke. The Duke remarked that he did not think she had anything for him, but he agreed to listen to her and then decided to ask what she wanted. He also wonders what she can give him in return. Robelia has heard that the Duke of Parado's family supports teenagers with promising futures, and she wants to be one of them. The Duke had only heard about her that she was weak and cowardly, but that didn't seem to be the case. Robelia told him that rumors were rumors. She had to be on guard and pretend. But after reading the book and learning the truth, there was no longer any reason for such behavior. But the rumors are not so exaggerated if you remember how she lost consciousness at the fencing tournament. The girl did not understand at all how he knew about it. The Duke noted that she had caused quite a stir, and immediately after his victory, the lady forgot her hat, and the sun was too strong. The Duke decided to agree with her anyway. Then he wants to talk about what she can give him. Robelia said she could solve his biggest problem. This is independence from the royal family. The Duke said that she should not say that she can return his relics because everyone thinks that he is only with them and dreams. But it is a lie. The lady said that she knew about it, and this surprised the gentleman. He asked again, and she confirmed it again. And then Robelia said that most of all the Duke wanted to get rid of the curse of distant lands. At that very moment the Duke took out his sword and put it to the woman's throat. He asked in horror who told Robelia about this. He was shocked, and that was great. The Duke was surprised that she was smiling. The lady thought that he was afraid to fall asleep at night, because he is afraid that the witch will come and devour him. In the past, obeying the emperor's order, he led the attack. But he was attacked by Temur, who commanded magical creatures, and he lost his mind in that battle. A terrible curse that makes you cease to be human. He controls himself only by willpower. Well, when he picks up a sword, he goes into a rage, just like in a fencing tournament. Robelia could break the curse. The Duke didn't understand how she would do it. The girl said that she gains strength when he sleeps. There is one aromatic product that will give him deep sleep. It is an excellent product, but the effect is temporary. The Duke will understand everything when he uses it. Once Jade asked if she was saying that she wanted his support. Well, that's not an answer, and he needs to know why she needs his help. The lady wants to start a business. It doesn't matter what, she just needs income to get her Ephelentia name back. Jade was surprised when he heard that she wanted her back and realized that the rumors were not true. When the master is convinced of the truth of her words, he can call her at any moment. Ephelentia Estate. The girls stood behind a tree and listened to the maids' conversations. They were talking about how Lady Aina was going to have a tea party, and that meant they had even more work ahead of them. She gave away the oils. Now all that remains is to wait. Suddenly she sat down and heard someone say her name. It was Malone asking where she had been. The gentleman believed that Robelia thought that he would not notice the disappearance since it was long past time for afternoon tea. Malone had told her to stay at the estate more times than she could count. The girl said she went to church to pray. Malone sighed because she went to that place again. To the remains of Julia, he believed that she missed her mother. It was not for nothing that she stopped there on the way home. The gentleman said that he would not be able to help if something happened to her outside the estates, so she should listen and not go there so often, because he is her guardian, and he hopes that she will not give him reasons to worry. Robelia agreed with him and said that she would remember, and then she ran into her room. It was very difficult for her to restrain herself and not do anything to him. Robelia wanted to stab him to death, but he didn't deserve such an easy fate, because she will make him pay for everything, at any cost and in any way. The maid knocked on Robelia's door and was very angry with her because she had been standing there and knocking for ages. The girl did not understand at all why she came so early, and the maid said that she should go to the main room, because Aina's people called her Robelia, immediately got ready and came to her. The girl was very happy to see her sister. She heard that Robelia went to church yesterday. She thought it was because of Julia. Aina was thinking about how to please her, so today she asked her to do a beautiful makeup and spent the evening with her. The maid told the lady that it was time for them to go. Aina was surprised that he had already arrived. At the last reception, the lady dropped her handkerchief. It seems he decided to return it to her. Aina asked the maids to pick out a suitable outfit for her sister. Come to think of it, Aina drops her scarves in front of men with enviable frequency. Variants often do this to aristocrats who have impressed them. And then he always comes back with a scarf and a gift to justify expectations. Well, Ina is so excited for the first time. She was afraid that she was wearing too much makeup, so it's very interesting to see who has already arrived. Considering that she gathered all the servants, it is unlikely that she is an ordinary aristocrat. Robelia was surprised when she saw the guest, and Aina greeted the gentleman with a smile, and she believed that he was from the estate of the Duke of Parado. The lady helped that he simply came to return the scarf. The man was in complete shock when he heard her. Aina was glad that they also brought a gift. Last time she made a big mistake, dropping her handkerchief at the royal banquet, and started saying that Duke Parado was so nice, and they had also traveled a long way. The man asked the lady for forgiveness and said that he had come to see Miss Robelia Effintinia. His name is Joachim Gereminus. He has come to Miss Robelia by order of his lord the Duke of Parado. Everyone was shocked with you that he didn't come to Miss War. The gentleman said that it looked like it. Aina believed that the gentleman was mistaken, and then she gave him asked if he was sure that he should come to her. The gentleman confirmed that his duke had clearly told Miss Robelia he had sent her an invitation and a gift. If Miss Robelia doesn't mind, he's waiting for her at the Alanchik to express his gratitude. Robelia thought it looked like he had used the remedy. In addition to the words, "You were told," that she was sent the famous Bloomby perfume, and they say that it is almost impossible to buy it. Robelia agreed. Aina tried to stop her. Then a woman came up to her and asked if she was leaving without telling anyone. It was Aina's mother. She heard everything, and it was very kind of the Duke, but she is worried. Man, I was surprised with you that she was worried. And the woman said that Robelia was still weak. She lost consciousness the other day and was having a hard time dealing with the death of her mother. Gereminus overheard the maids talking about how she was jealous again and would not let Robelia go even if she wanted to. The lady said that she was afraid, and if she went out too often she would tie her up again. So today she would stay at the estate, especially since her daughter wanted to chat with her, and they had just prepared tea and cakes. Aina said that was great, and she did so, and the woman was also very eager to hear the story of Robelia's acquaintance with the Duke of Parado. The gentleman could not even imagine such a thing. He met her in the temple yesterday and did not expect that something like this would happen. Miss Robelia had helped him a lot, and the Duke wanted to repay her. He said he wanted to see her at any cost. If the master returns with such news, his Duke will be very disappointed. Well, the most important thing is that the Duke changed his plans for this lunch. The maids noticed that he even sent a gift. Therefore, it was better for her not to create unnecessary rumors by refusing Malone. Moreover, ordered his wife not to create reasons for gossip because she does not want to hear how their name is trampled. Josephine said that it was an accident and that Julia suddenly fell, and it just happened. But the gentleman did not want to hear any excuses. Julia is likely to die soon, so they will solve this problem quietly. And if Josephine continues to spread rumors, she must be prepared for the consequences. Josephine asked Robelia to return for dinner, and then the girl went with the master. Malone was away today, so leaving the estate wasn't that difficult. She knew she had to hand over the problems when she returned, and Malon would be at the estate. Robelia has already gotten used to it, but she is interested in what kind of person he is. The man apologized to her, but Robelia didn't quite understand what the matter was. He asked if she was okay, because he thought she was upset about what happened. This man asks if Robelia is okay, and then he leads her in that direction. Miss Robelia, of the house of Count Effalentius. She is illegitimate, but even so they are too cruel. She was tired and wanted his help, but the girl did not react in any way and silently looked at the floor. The gentleman did not know whether it was his fault, but if the rumors were true, the lady only said that it did not concern him. The gentleman apologized for saying too much, but Miss Robelia said that everything was fine, and she also asked her to take her away quickly. Robelia did not believe that selfless kindness existed. People are evil and greedy. That's their nature. Greed makes people forget about morality and do terrible things. You can't trust those you haven't personally verified. There was no one she could trust next to her. And there won't be any in the future either. The Duke greeted the lady with a smile and said that he had been waiting so she could come in and change seats, and he also ordered everyone to leave them alone. The master said that she could feel free, but he didn't know what she liked. Robelia thought it was too pompous since it was just lunch. The Duke decided to ask what the secret of the aromatic sleeping pill was, because since he was cursed, this was the first night without nightmares. And Robelia also says that it is only temporary. The lady confirmed that it is. To fully heal, she would need to enter the Duke's dreams. The Duke smiled and asked if this was another nonsense about how someone else's magic would help find the answer. The curse could only be broken by the same kind of magic, and they might try. Well, that's enough for now. No one is able to weaken the curse. The Duke is not against the deal, but it is not very good. This surprised the lady very much. She says she wants to open a business to join the Effalentia family. To do that, she'll have to expand it a lot. At first, she will be able to hide her identity. But as the business grows, everything will become clear, and then she will become a target for the aristocracy. Of course, this also applies to the Effalentia genus. But she is ready for this. That's why she needs a sponsor. The Duke said it was not suitable, and he had a better option. Malone was stunned when he heard that Robelia had received an invitation from the Duke. She said he sent for her, straight here. The gentleman was shocked with you that his wife just went and let her go. That's true, but she only did it because he asked her to stop causing problems. If she hadn't let her go, rumors would have spread. Robelia might have received the temple's support. The Count could not believe it, and did not even know how in this universe Robelia could help the Duke. This can't be, Julia told Robelia before she died. Malone must find out what she knows. The maid informed Sir that Robelia had returned, just in time. So he asked her to tell him to come to the library immediately. The maid informed her that she had not come alone, but that the Duke of Parado was also here. All the maids were shocked, because did the Duke really see Parado? But for some reason he was with Robelia. It is a great honor to see him here. The Count asks forgiveness for not having greeted him properly, because his language was a surprise to them. Jade informed him that such trifles did not bother him, and the Count felt relieved. While Malone was away, he invited Robelia to his estate. Actually, this is the reason for the Count's visit. He wants to take Robelia to his home. The Count said that he could not accept his offer, after which the Duke asked why Malone said that he would rather know why the Duke had decided to take her in the first place. The woman is simple. The Duke saw Robelia in the temple and fell in love at first sight. Then he proposed a marriage of convenience to her, with the legend that they had accidentally met in a temple and fallen head over heels in love with each other, and he secretly took her to himself. Robelia said that he should hold his horses because he was so stupid to believe such nonsense. The Duke was sure that he would believe it because he knew Jade Parado's reputation. So the lady agreed. It was very strange for Robelia that she agreed so easily. She also had the same idea, instead of breaking the curse, to enter into an arranged marriage for 3 years. Well, now she is just a commoner, an illegitimate child, which everyone knows very well. Aristocrats care about origins. They will never accept her. The Duke waited for his lady's answer, so she agreed, and they decided to enter into a marriage contract. They had a wonderful time together that day, and with every second, his feelings for Robelia grew stronger, and he would like to do everything possible for her. Robelia did not even expect such a good game from him. Malone apologized and said that he had heard rumors about him. It seemed that there was no person left who had not heard about it. There are always groups of girls around the Duke, and he changes them like gloves. A famous heartbreaker, a real playboy, he is a very dissolute man. Holds on to trying in every way to get rid of the pressure from his family, which was forcing him to get married. Robelia trusted him and follows, but she is very afraid that sooner or later everything will change. Malone said that they are not related by blood. She is still a child whom his brother loved with all his heart. If something happens to her, he doesn't even know how he will look his brother in the eyes. After death, he will call his brother. He must take care of this child with all his might. Malone was sure that the Duke could not continue to be stubborn after these words. He decided to lock her up when the Duke left, so that she wouldn't even think about escaping. The Duke asked him how he would feel about becoming her patron. He knows that Parado supports teenagers with a promising future. Jade will add Robelia to this list and write her a letter of recommendation that will allow her to enter the academy. If Uncle really wants the best for her, then that would be true concern. It worked. Malone would never have let her marry him for love. He deliberately provoked Malone and declared himself her patron. This plan was Jade's idea. Now he can't refuse, because he said earlier that he must take care of this child with all his might. However, it is necessary to be completely sure. Malone is worried whether she knows the truth or not. To finally remove suspicion and anxiety is what he wants, so she will answer this question. Robelia knelt before the Count and said that she would stay in Ephalentius's house. The Duke was simply horrified and asked what she was saying. When she and her mother had nowhere to go, it was the master who took them in, so she asks for forgiveness for causing such a commotion. If the master does not allow it, she will break all ties with the Duke of Parado. The Duke didn't expect things to turn out like this, and next time she should warn about it. Robelia promised to try and improve over time. They dealt with the Count, and now she needs to enter the academy. Usually female students live in a dormitory, but if she goes to meet someone, she doesn't have to spend the night there, so she can leave before nightfall and head to his estate. Jade completely forgot that she had no luggage, so he would send someone to get it later. Robelia said there was no need. She had her mother's favorite pendant with her, which she never parted with. Everything she needed was already with her, so the Duke decided to discuss further actions. If she wants a business on the level of the Affentia family that will require serious investment, the Duke will help her at first, but that does not mean that she can use the Duke's money forever. The Ephalentia family business consists of 4 parts. The first is gold and gem mining. The second is rail transport through the industrial capital of the empire. The third is income from renting houses and land owned by the family. And the fourth is related to the purchase and sale of bonds. It will be difficult to destroy all 4 parts, and the Duke is not interested in this. He will not give much money. The Duke decided to find out where she intended to get money for her business. Robelia said that she would have an investor, and that investor will be Her Highness the Queen. The Duke was very surprised, and then I decided to ask again if he was telling the truth about the Queen, because it couldn't be so. Robelia agreed that it was not that simple. This path would allow one to gain not only money but also influence. But it was more difficult than the others. That's why the Duke is interesting, why there is not a drop of doubt in her gaze. The Duke asked if she would promise him something, and then she would gain his trust if she agreed. You want her to devote herself to him. In general, it's a pity, but she doesn't need that. Robelia could rely on me for that. And since that was the case, the Duke suggested that she try another way. She must not betray him, and if she does, she must be sure that she will not see life. Robelia noted that even without trust, they had a common path, so there was no need to worry so much. The knight asked the lady to help her, and waited until she extended her hand to him. Robelia was sure that it was normal for me to fall on my knees in front of her. For knights, it was normal, but still strange. Well, the Duke asked to be allowed to do it. He said that Robelia didn't even know how happy he was to be with her. The girl remembered that they were playing lovers, so she reciprocated his feelings. Robelia told him that she was also happy, and this made the Duke very surprised. And then he suggested going inside. The butler was very glad to meet him. He is Geralt, the head butler of the estate. This maid will be Lady Robelia's personal servant. If she is bothered by anything, she can inform him personally. The Duke was shocked that she could have such an expression on her face. The maids were talking about whether they saw the Duke's reaction, because he never took his eyes off her. It was such a piercing gaze. One of the maids decided that they would soon part ways, and that it wasn't even worth paying attention to. It's not at all clear why she did it. Perhaps this woman is some celebrity. Meanwhile, the butler led her into the room and wished her a good rest. She is the footman's daughter or stepdaughter. They spoke so loudly, and the lady understood that the butler heard. She continues to pretend that they do not notice. The maids thought that this woman could disfigure the Duke's face, and when the mistress came in, they immediately said that they were just cleaning here. Robelia said that she was going to have dinner with the Duke, so she asked for help in preparing. Of course, they weren't against it. You can't say it, but it's obvious what everyone is thinking. Robelia isn't going to play the good girl in front of him, and she won't worry about trifles. The maid was horrified with you that she had broken such an expensive thing. She didn't even know where she would go if she was fired. The mistress said she had had enough, and the maid tried to argue with her. Robelia said she just wanted to be alone. The maids said that the mistress could call them if there was anything she needed. It seemed they had made a terrible first impression, and she had certainly heard everything. The mistress said that if the maid is worried about a broken cup, she can say that the mistress broke it. Now Robelia will live in a dormitory. Ina asked her father why. She thought it had something to do with the Duke of Parado's arrival. Everything had already been decided, so he asked his daughter to simply forget about everything. This girl took everything from her, so Aina doesn't understand at all how she can forget about it. She suddenly left to study, and this happened immediately after meeting with the Duke of Parado. The girl did not understand at all why the Duke had invited her, and why everything was like this, why all this was happening to her. Robelia had left her without a word, and she didn't understand why. As the sun was setting, the light dinner for two was coming to an end. The Duke's chambers were already ready. The gentleman announced that he would soon go. Then he remembered that he wanted to tell the butler that Lady Robelia was staying with him that night, so he had to prepare everything. Geralt understood him. The maids will be in shock with you asking if this is true, and if the Duke really gave such an order, because this has never happened before. What orders had not been given before the butler ordered them to stop chatting and get to cooking? After long preparations, the lady was already at the Duke's. Robelia apologized for the wait. He didn't suggest that she start treatment today. Everything was as she thought, straight to the point. The Duke was suffering from a curse, and a solution was found. She said that she needed to penetrate his dreams, and this is only possible at night. Robelia said that no one would suspect anything if he told the servants that they would spend the night together. Jade decided to do just that and said they would meet in his room when it was ready. When she had already arrived, the Duke decided to ask what he should do. Jade wondered if he would need the oil. Robelia said it wasn't necessary, but they would use the scent to help him fall asleep faster. She asked the Duke to make himself comfortable, and using magic, she would penetrate his dreams. Judging by his look, he doesn't believe the main character. It's hard to talk when it comes to such things. Robelia said that she was already starting, and when he fell asleep, then she would fall asleep too and find herself in his dreams. After this, the lady took him by the hand, and the man immediately came to his senses and asked what she was doing. Physical contact is required for Robelia to peer into his dream, and here, too, the spell mark is needed. In the original, the one who lifted the curse was Aina, not her. Aina accidentally discovered how to destroy it. With the typical heroine's innocence and light, she cleansed Jade's heart. Well, because the cure was too late, the curse got out of control, and the Duke died. Maybe he died because of Aina. After all, Jade Parado was a villain, and his existence could have prevented a happy ending. This is Jade Parado's dream. The maid said that the food for the Duke was ready, and they could take it. Robelia never thought she would end up in the kitchen, but now she gets to know the Duke in a natural way. She asked that the horn start to stop if she was heading to the Duke's room, because she wanted to help her. The girl was simply delighted and said that she was afraid to approach the Duke lately. 4 years ago, he was different. 4 years since symptoms started. This was before he moved to the capital. They are now in the North County. The key moment is hidden in this dream. At 2:40, she must find and erase the traces of the curse scattered throughout his subconscious, in the deepest depths of memory, and very soon it will appear. It is only 2 kakis, madame. We must find an excuse to come back here later. The gentleman noted that he had not seen her before. That's why he thought it was a new maid. Robelia was shocked that he remembered the faces of all the servants even in their sleep. The Duke's dreams are very strange, but Robelia said that this is so, and she only got a job at the estate yesterday. Later he promised to ask the head maid, and also asked her to put away his books. He will stay in the office. The head maid said that she will bring food and clean up. This is her chance, and she will stay here and just wait for the key moment. It's almost time. The servant brought him reports on the road construction that would take place very soon. It was 2:40, and something was happening to the Duke. Even the servant was scared, and Robelia realized that the curse was getting stronger. The Duke had already kicked everyone out of his room a minute ago and told them not to show their faces to him again. Everyone reacts as if this isn't the first time they've encountered this. And of course, the curse has been with him for 4 years already. All they could do was go away and leave him alone. The Duke turned and took the ball. The trace of a curse right on his neck. The sword is a fake. But even such a sword will be a formidable weapon in his hands. This needs to be done quickly, so she doesn't understand what to do, because if she wants to erase it, she needs to get closer. She realized that she had caught the moment, but the Duke saw her and asked if she had hurt him badly when he told her to get out. Then she had to disappear immediately. He was very angry and shouted at her to get lost. If she didn't want to get hurt, she had to leave here right now. Robelia told the gentleman that everything is fine. He has been suffering greatly since he became a duke, and no one knows about the curse. Everyone only hears the noise from the Duke's office, but quietly passes by and does not come closer to him. These attacks haunt him for years. The girl said that he would not be able to hurt her with this sword. Jade smiled and said that she was not the first someone says, because she thinks that it will be different with her. But it will still be as it should be. Robelia said that just not this time. Only now he should trust her. He's afraid of hurting someone. We are to the maid, got to his neck and smeared it with blood. Afterwards, the Duke sat down, and Robelia asked if he was okay. The gentleman asked what had happened, because he remembered the incense. The girl said that they were still in his dream. Robelia erased the curse mark. The Duke thought he was finished, but he didn't understand why he was still sleeping. Robelia needs to help him wake up, just like she helped him fall asleep. Jade said to trust her, and that was it. She was the one who reached out to him. The Duke laughed at her, pretending to be a servant, and remarked that it was quite plausible. Robelia thought he was in shock because even some jokes were omitted. He hadn't seen this office for 6 months. Robelia realized that something like this had never happened to him before, so she told him that it was time to return to reality. She asked the gentleman to take her hand. It is somewhere to leave the dream. They are not lovers, so holding hands is rather awkward. Robelia assured the gentleman that this was a necessity. The slightest mistake would mean that they would not get out of here. Then the gentleman apologized and extended his hand to her. Later this would happen again. Jade hoped that next time he would recognize her from the start. Robelia noted that she wasn't so sure. Now he must imagine his body floating on the surface of the water. The Duke breathes in the fresh air, but suddenly he notices someone and asks who it is. These are not his memories. The lady asked him not to even pay attention to it. But the gentleman can't just stand there and look at this child. Robelia repeated once again. That one mistake, and everything will be in vain. Just don't pay attention to it. The Duke must focus on returning to reality. And finally, the Duke is already awake. Jade's body became very light. The lady asked how he felt. Everything is even better than he would like. The body is very light, and now it is easier to control the power of magical beasts. He offered her to continue tomorrow, but the lady refused him because the problem was in space. The traces of the curse disappeared, so his subconscious created a void. So they need to wait until it fills up. Jade decided to ask if Robelia was okay. Today was the first time she used magic, so she said that everything was fine, and she felt like usual. She also asked to forgive her and wanted to leave, but the Duke asked her to wait. Today, he plans to go to college and decide on admission, so it would be better for her to rest if she is tired. Robelia assured the gentleman that she was fine. He tried to object, but the lady interrupted him and said that everything was fine and there was no need to worry. The Duke spent the whole night with her, so the maid is sure that they will dine together. Another maid was shocked that the Duke fell in love. Another girl advised them to be quiet and not to repeat the same mistake twice. But maid, I was not going to say anything bad. They told Miss that the Duke was waiting for her. They came to help her get ready for dinner. The lady said they could come in, and they were shocked when they saw the lady's face. The lady's face looks like a rotten onion. It's better not to say that out loud. So the maids apologized for the inconvenience and said that they could not let her go like that. After all the preparations, she looks even more sick. The maids apologized because they meant well. One of the maids asked permission to send the makeup. Robelia simply told them that everything was fine and that they couldn't keep the Duke waiting any longer. They don't quite understand why she's like this. Robelia didn't think she'd be so pale. Entering sleep takes a lot more energy than you might think. Robelia was there fully conscious, so she did not rest all night. And suddenly someone called out to her. It was Gereminas. The man was very surprised by her face and thought that something had happened to her during the night. The knight asked if there were any problems in the estate or if the maids were doing their job carelessly. The lady said no, and they are very nice to her here. No torture or abuse, so it will do. The maid simply doesn't give a damn, like she's a girl who will soon be thrown out. Well, that's even better. Robelia bowed to the knight and said that it was time for her to go, because the Duke was waiting for her in the dining room. Gereminas asked the lady to tell him if something happened, because he wants to protect her. The lady thought it was knightly etiquette and asked why he had to go so far since she was not the one he needed to protect. The man said that knights do not choose who to protect because they help everyone who needs it. Robelia was grateful for his words. She didn't need help, and she wouldn't ask him for it, because she might start relying on a person if she gets used to it. So she decided to go quickly. Even if his kindness is sincere, it will be an obstacle on the path to revenge. Robelia would never allow herself to be betrayed. The Duke had expected her to look tired. It's the third time, so the lady was shocked that it was that bad. She told me that breaking the curse would put so much pressure on her. Robelia was simply conscious all night, even though she was asleep. The Duke didn't think it would hurt her so much, so he was even a little upset. To dilute the conversation, he decided to ask if the room was suitable for her, and the lady replied that it suited her perfectly. The gentleman said that she could tell Gerald if she wanted to buy anything else, and she would also be sent to the eastern building of the academy. Robelia, he will be yours. The gentleman said that the academy is divided into eastern, western, and northern, and she will be in the eastern one. There are many of Parado's close associates there, and it will be much calmer for him. And there is also Alain Legretina's half-brother. Alain Legretin is a minor character in the original story. He fought around Ina, the second son of the Count, the owner of the famous Legretina department store. Unlike the loving protagonist, Alain is a mercantile man who is thirsty for Effalentia's money. Well, she'll need him, and that's lucky. Maybe she'll be able to meet him through his stepbrother. Since the lady had already finished eating, it was the Duke who suggested that she go. Robelia was not at all against it. The gentleman remarked that the academy was even more beautiful than the estate. Robelia had an expression as if she had seen something magical. The lady had been to the Duke's estate many times before, but this was her first time at the academy. She needed to get used to it in order to be prepared for the future. The gentleman understood her and then suggested that she go and register. This is where it all begins. The Duke asked to take the documents that the lady signed. The admission process is very fast. In addition to the application for study permission, to spend the night outside the academy is required. The Duke's smile disappeared because it did not bode well. The woman said it was nothing, and she would solve the issue. The Duke was grateful to the professor and said goodbye until the next meeting. Robelia hoped to meet her half-brother Alain if she stayed, but she was unlikely to spend the night there at all. The Duke turned to her in a whisper and said that she could not stay here longer than 2 days, because they don't have a minute to spare. He was too close. Jade suggested that they go home quickly and discuss the business plan. He also suggested that they walk hand in hand at least to the carriage. Robelia was surprised because no one could see them. There was a restroom at the exit, so caution wouldn't hurt. The most famous lover in town, and that would be to their advantage. Jade asked the girl if she probably wanted to become a representative of the Imperial Palace. This is exactly what Robelia wanted, and it's actually a good start. And also modern. We were just looking for someone for this position, but the competition will be fierce. A palace representative is a person who manages the royal property and also invests, manages income and expenses. This post was invented by aristocrats who did not want to waste their time on this. The royal family was good at investing, but the royals were exceptional people. They are elected, regardless of status and background. This is a great opportunity to make a leap from the very bottom. Her Majesty comes from the Millix family, which is not inferior to the Ephelentia family. If she manages to become the Queen's representative, then a decent amount of capital is guaranteed. The Duke asked if she was sure she could achieve this. He had heard that the Count was also aiming for the post. From his words in the original, the palace representatives became Ina. She knew nothing about investing, but Malone gave a bribe so that his daughter would take this post. He donated a fortune to the Queen's event. Of course, he got nothing for it. They could control the Ainu and used it more and more. The Empress got hers. The Ainu got the post of representative. Robelia thought that there was no need to worry about Count Alentia. He did not know what the Queen wanted. The Duke decided to ask what this Queen wanted. Robelia said that she needed a blue diamond. Her Majesty had been looking for this thing for many years. The Duke was shocked because this was another piece of jewelry of which she had in abundance. Well, this diamond is special. The thing is, the Queen has a secret that is known to a very small circle of people. When she was young, she failed the rigorous etiquette training and made a mistake at the debutante ball. Somehow, she ended up in Yegor's house and was overcome by gambling. She became a gambler, mired in debts that she could not pay off. She even sold the diamond to her mother to pay them off. After her death, the Empress regretted what she had done and wanted to return it. Well, I couldn't act because I was afraid that her past would come out. The blue diamond is the Queen's weakness, and she will pay attention to it if you bring it. And the representative's area of responsibility also includes the acquisition of those things that the Crown would like to have. If she manages to obtain it, it will definitely distinguish her in the eyes of the Queen. But the Duke doesn't know where the diamond is, so he decided to ask Robelia knows where to buy it. The Duke did not understand at all where she got such valuable information from, because she was saying very important things, so he was very curious about how she knew about them. Robelia couldn't say for sure, so she suggested that they were a gift from heaven, so that she could take revenge. There is no need to worry about the price, because the shop owner will be happy to sell the jewelry. When they asked here who the owner was, Robelia said that it was the second son of the Legratina family, Alain Legratina. The Duke was very surprised. After all this, man was definitely not the type to sell cheaply. Robelia decided to become friends with his stepbrother, so she has a good chance of meeting the owner of the store himself. The Duke stopped her and said that Alan had to go to the opera house tomorrow. The lady was surprised and asked again. Jade was talking about the Surgo Opera House. It's a very popular place. People go there to make friends. Alan will definitely show up there. Then everything will be much easier. Robelia said that she might need the Duke's things. She also asked the gentleman if he would go on a date with her. The maid told the lady that she heard that she had a date today. They will be very happy to help her. Get ready." Robelia was against it and agreed with them. The maid promised that this time she would look her best, and they would not repeat their past mistakes. Therefore, the lady can trust them. Robelia did not really want to listen to this, so she agreed. Now they work more skillfully. Well, it's clear where all these dresses and jewelry came from. Robelia assumed that these were all the things of the Duke's former girlfriends. Finally, the maids are finished, so the mistress can look in the mirror. The dress fits perfectly, so the lady decided to ask where it was from, because it fits as if it was made for her. The maids reported that it was a gift from the Duke for Lady Robelia. Indeed, it had been sewn just yesterday. And a little later, the rest of the clothes will arrive. And also the lady really suits blue, and it's very good that they changed the dress. Robelia looks great, just great. Everyone will look at her. At the opera house, the girl was shocked that they said she was beautiful. Robelia only heard that she had a seductive face. Well, she decided not to think about it. The Duke was already waiting for her and noticed that she was late, so he wondered why. Robelia apologized for being late and also said that they could go now. The Duke looked at her in such a way that the lady began to ask if everything was okay with her and began to think that she had overdone it with her makeup. Jade said that it wasn't true because they were going out in public and the makeup was just right. And the Duke also wanted to say something. Then the lady came closer to him and asked him what he wanted to tell her. The gentleman turned around and said that the carriage was waiting, and then offered her his hand. On the way to the opera house, Robelia told the Duke how to get the blue diamond. Now the Duke understood everything and said that in that case, they needed to make a deal with him as quickly as possible. But the gentleman is not sure that everything will be so simple because this man is a merchant. Robelia noted that they would manage somehow, and she was confident that they would be able to convince the merchant. Jade noted that Alan had recently acquired a reputation for not being the most pleasant person, so it was better not to talk to him about trifles, but only on business. Robelia noticed that the Duke was not himself today, and that something was wrong with him. Opera House, Surga. The women were very happy to see the beautiful, as always, Jade. He has such an aura, so many people immediately ran up to him and asked him how he was living. Many had not seen him for a long time. I also asked who this girl is, and they thought it was Robelia Effalentia, and what a beautiful dress she is wearing. All the men were enchanted, and one of the girls heard that she was the daughter of a gypsy. Robelia noted that the atmosphere was still the same. Nothing had changed, and they weren't even aware of the rumors yet. The lady told the Duke that his servants were dressed like aristocracy. They also asked Aina what had happened. Aina didn't understand at all what Robelia was doing here. She had said that she was going to the academy. She left without a word, and now she's doing this. She treated her well. The girl told her to hold the notes more carefully because she covered them with her fingers and wanted to ruin her performance. Aina approached her and said that her sister did not mean anything in this sense, but just like that, so she asked for forgiveness. The girl told her that she was just a servant and did not understand how she could call her sister. It's simply astonishing that Sir Effalentia would care for an illegitimate child. Aina is also very kind. She brought her here. It's not so easy to take a gypsy's daughter to a concert, but Aina believed that Robelia was her doll, so she had no right to do this. The girl told Aina that this was some kind of mistake, so they should go back. But for some reason, she turned away. Then Alan came to her. Robelia was happy when she saw him. The gentleman thought that Aina was tired, so he offered to bring her a light drink. The lady was grateful to him, and he was surprised when he saw Miss Robelia in front of him. Alan said they hadn't seen each other for quite some time, and the girl remarked that they hadn't seen each other for a very long time. Better, minor character Alain Le Gretin. He thought she was a maid because her friend Aina told him so. As far as Robelia remembers, this man was originally respectful towards her. Even though he looks friendly, it is just a mask. He got close to her in order to appropriate Effalentius's property. So, girls need to be careful because he is very dangerous. Alain said that they really haven't seen each other for ages, and he hadn't seen her near Anna for a long time either, so he thought something might have happened. Suddenly, the girl grabbed her hand. Anna asked Robelia to talk a little alone. When they were alone, she began to ask why she was here since she had left for the academy. Robelia came to see the opera. Meanwhile, the girl told everyone to look in that direction because Ina was there with the maid. Aina was surprised and lowered her eyes because her friends were here, and Aina was her servant. Everyone knows this, and if they see it, it's unclear what they will think about it. Robelia was shocked that she was such a toy to her, but she didn't care because she needed connections to own a business. Robelia noted that they had not seen each other since she left home, so I decided to ask the lady how she was doing. Her friends were shocked, like you, that this girl is no longer a servant. If she left the house, then they are no longer connected. They started asking Ina what was going on. The maid left her. The Duke was delighted when he met Robelia and immediately offered her a seat, and the lady did not refuse. The guests do not understand at all what is happening and why the Duke is accompanying her. Perhaps they are together. Aina couldn't stand it, so she shouted that she lent the maid to Duke Parado because he said he needed a maid. Well, they didn't understand at all why the Duke was hanging around with her so much, so they weren't sure that Aina was telling the truth. Robelia didn't quite understand why she was burying her head in the sand. She needed to clarify the situation. The Duke asked Miss Ina what this meant because she said that Miss Robelia was serving him. Her father officially gave his consent for Robelia to date him. Ina was in complete shock when she heard about it. Jade asked her to spread false rumors. Robelia is an illegitimate child who was taken in by Count Effalentia. In nature, how much he loves her, she is a child. The Duke returned and turned to Viscount Temper and told him to keep his mouth shut. He doesn't care what they say about him, but no one else will honor Miss Robelia. He will prevent this by any means necessary. Everyone knows that Jade Parado never loved anyone. He dated women to get rid of family pressure. If girls confessed their love to him, most often, he agreed to a relationship, but never went beyond the boundaries he set. He gave jewelry to his beloved, but only for show, and not from sincere motives. It was the same with going out in public. He was polite, but without unnecessary feelings. It was the same with her women who dreamed of his love were abandoned. But he stood up for Robelia. Thus he stirred up society. The Duke is on Robelia's side. Now Aina understands why he took her for himself. The Duke asked the girl why this impudent lie. Aina said with a tremor in her voice that it was for his own good, but the Duke frowned and said that was unlikely. She only needs to say that she is not a suitable match for Duke Yi, that she wanted the good of the House of Parado, and then he will forgive her, but for some reason she remains silent. She probably still hasn't realized that Robelia isn't her thing. Well, that's even better, because she'll be able to use it. Robelia told Aina that everything was fine, and that she really still had a lot of shortcomings, and that was probably what the lady was worried about. She whispered to the Duke to smile, and remarked that it was their personal business, and also was grateful to the lady for her concern. But it's time for them to go. The lady was grateful to the Duke for what he had given her, even though he was not obliged to do so. Jade noted that he could not ignore such a thing. His beloved was insulted. There could be no other reaction. The Duke does not need to do this, because in the contract, they are simply lovers. A relationship of convenience, beneficial to both. But his words sounded as if they were not real. Robelia asked the gentleman not to mislead her with such words. As for Alain Legretin, she wants to get closer to him during their mission so that the gentleman can enjoy the opera. This theater is also owned by Effalentia. The Duke knew about it, holy man. The Count had turned the theater into one of the most beautiful places in the capital, and it was no secret that he was involved in real estate. This is why Effalentia is so strong. So it seems that she wants to take back this place. The founder of their family is James Effalentia, and Robelia must return everything created by her father. That's why the girl said she wanted him back, and she would take everything from Malone. This is simply wonderful, and for a start, the lady wants her target to be Alain. The mission begins. The man noticed that the miss looked shocked, so he asked if everything was okay. Aina told him not to worry, because she would immediately return to her when she could not fit into high society. Everyone thinks that Aina is worried about the maid. If you just look, there are a lot of people around her. And Robelia also knows that she is worried about her, so she will forgive her and go back to her old ways. Suddenly, the lady wondered where everyone was looking, and then realized that their gazes were focused on the Duke and her maid. Jade whispered to Robelia that all eyes were on them, and that was exactly the case. A gypsy's daughter and a duke whose power is second only to that of a king. We must get down to business while all this attention is being paid. Mistakes cannot be repeated if she wants to develop her business. Aina did not quite understand what had happened and why she came here. Aina asked her sister to come closer to her because she was now talking to Alan. Robelia turned to the master and asked if she was free to be with him. She decided to humiliate Aina in front of all the aristocrats. Aina, in shock, asked Robelia if she really looked down on her. Robelia ignored her sister. The mistress noted that the lady was there, and the girls were glad to see her, and added that they had not seen each other for a long time. One of the ladies offered to chat with them, and Robelia decided not to refuse. She is no longer Aina's servant, so there will be a chance to get closer to the Duke. Jade was glad it worked. Robelia said that not being seen as a servant was already an achievement, and also asked him to be a normal silent Duke. Aina thought that Robelia should be able to keep her distance properly, even though she is her mistress, but she is not going to forgive. Aina noted that she did not expect such a surprise, and also asked the gentleman to continue his story. Alan is thinking about selling the new gems in his shop. She heard that he brought a lot of jewelry from the night auction. This time there really were a lot. She would have liked it for sure. For example, the ruby necklace that Queen Revan wore for her coronation. Aina was shocked and said that she would really like to see it at least once. Aina hoped that Robelia realized that this was a conversation between aristocrats and that she had no place here. The Duke couldn't figure out whether she liked Alan or not. Robelia only told him that no one could know about it, because once she got the blue diamond, she wouldn't care what kind of relationship they had. Well, now she needs to talk to him, so she turns to him and asks if he has ever bought a gem that can blind. Robelia would like to have something similar, unique, and at any price, so she asked him if he had anything in mind. Aina was sure that she wouldn't be able to buy it anyway, so she really wanted her to stop bothering her. Aina turned to Mr. Allen and said what she was talking about. The man was going to ignore the child without power, but it seems that the Duke is on her side. The blue diamond that Jade Parado will buy, and you will probably be a gift for his beloved. Aina turned to the Mr. again. He immediately spoke to Robelia and said that he was asking for forgiveness but could not help her in any way. He doesn't have such gems, and this made the lady very surprised. The Duke apologized for helping her get what she wanted. Robelia remarked that there was nothing strange about this, so the Duke asked her what they were going to do. The girl said there was no need to worry, because this was just the beginning. He took the bait. All that was left was to wait. Robelia said she wanted to get some fresh air and would be back soon. The Duke didn't mind. While she was breathing fresh air, someone suddenly spoke to her. When she turned back, she saw Mr. Allen there. Was it his imagination, or was it the atmosphere around her that had changed? Work first, gems first. He thought it was all because of the blue diamond. Robelia said that was exactly it, and the only stone needed was that one. The gentleman asked if she would want him even if he was cursed by God himself, a businessman, but much cleaner than she had imagined. He could sell him without a word. The lady thought it would be better if he was even more unique. Alan turned to the lady and said that he was not joking. He tried to say something else, but Robelia told him that she knew everything. A blue diamond in the shape of a drop, which brings only troubles to its owner. Alan didn't see how he could sell it. Robelia pointed out that he had bought it at auction, and I thought that the curse was a fiction, but after acquiring this gem, a catastrophe is approaching. It started small and gradually got worse, a derailed train that killed an entire family. He had an incident with the carriage. Recently, bad luck will overtake the mister, and she is not at all surprised by this. After all, the curse on this stone is pure truth, and the owner could try to throw it away. But this diamond can only be exchanged. No matter how much you get rid of it, it will return to its owner. But he can't sell it to you, because he bought it at an illegal auction. Alan realized that the lady knew everything. That's why she came up to him. The gentleman is trying to sell it illegally, and is afraid that the curse will catch up with him. A cursed decoration in a store, and even purchased illegally, it will be the end of the business. Alan wants to hide this diamond from others, so he talks to her, away from prying eyes. Alan wanted to ask what she wanted, and the lady asked him to let him help. In order not to sell the blue diamond for next to nothing, she will buy it back for 15 times the purchase price. Alan wants to sell this stone at any price. He asked his father if the diamond is the cause of all their troubles. Father asked him not to joke. So because the cargo was damaged, he says that the train derailed because of this stone. But the boy was sure that he was definitely cursed. His father thought he was a fool. It seemed that he didn't even understand the basics of business. He didn't raise him like that. He bought it for the price it would fit in, and now he wants to sell it for next to nothing. Does he really believe in this nonsense, or is he just a child? If he can't sell it from the display case, he can at least recoup the money he spent. A place in the Lagreton family must be earned. He finally got there. Even as a child, he had great intuition. From a young age, he knew how to get close to people in order to get what he wanted from them. Alan Cross, and the field of activity was constantly expanding, and he clearly knew which way to go. His intuition has never failed him, and he is sure that the diamond must be gotten rid of. Father decided to threaten to disinherit. He must do it. There will be problems in any case. Alan thought he was done with it until he found it in his office, as if it had just been bought. Alan didn't understand why this was happening, because he had definitely thrown it into the sea. No matter how hard you try, it still comes back. Business was in decline. There was no end to minor problems, and he was injured when a wheel broke on his carriage. The feeling of insecurity was constantly growing, and now the woman said that she would buy him at any price. This is really his chance. He needs to take advantage of the moment when she is alone. Since he couldn't throw it away, it would just hide the truth and sell it. That's what he thought before he looked into her eyes. For some reason, her soul was filled with terror, and he believed that was why there was such a mystical atmosphere around. Or perhaps he believed her voice, which was full of confidence. So he asked her if he had a choice while kissing her hand. Alan can't refuse such an offer. He won't get a second chance. Robelia asked him to get her an invitation to Countess Dora's banquet. The party is next week. The gentleman is shocked to find that this is all she needs. If she's talking about an invitation to a wine party, this duke will have no problem getting it. Robelia just doesn't want to ask him. To avoid creating more problems for him, if he wants to make a contract, both sides should get theirs. Alan understood her and asked her to let him know if she wanted anything else. Meanwhile, the Duke was sitting at the performance, and when the timidity arrived, he began to ask if everything had gone smoothly. Robelia said that she promised to buy a diamond, and it really worked. The more he is with Robelia, the more he believes in miracles. Alan agreed so quickly. Maybe the incident with the train was also her doing, and there really wasn't a curse, just a couple of her tricks. Robelia laughed. I couldn't understand how she could make the train get off if it was so far away from her. The curse really does exist, and one day a woman from the family of Marquis Millix, where the queen comes from, asked him to cast a spell. If it was owned by the women of the Millix family, it was a talisman of good luck, but in the wrong hands, it would only bring death, so it must belong to the Millix family. Only they know about the spell. The Duke had heard that over time the spell on objects loses its power. The spell has weakened the diamond, causes only minor troubles in the past. It would immediately kill the stranger. The Duke believed that the Dowager Empress had sold him. Because she did not know, she would hardly have believed it, because she was not sure that anyone would believe it. All that remains is to return the diamond. We need a chance to meet the Empress alone. The Duke decided to ask how he could help her. He said it unconsciously, so he was scared. Robelia said that she wouldn't need his help with this. It wasn't part of the contract, so she would figure it out herself. The maid came in and apologized for disturbing them, but she brought a cake. Gertsov noted that he had ordered it and smiled at the lady. She had never eaten, and they had gone here straight away. At the estate, she always eats little, but she never refuses sweets. Every time he pays attention to it, Robelia was very surprised, because until that moment, no one knew that she liked sweets. This kindness seemed so strange to her, perhaps even sweet, both the cake and his attention. Well, there are more important things now. You can't be distracted from revenge by such trifles. The lady said that it was not necessary to be attentive to her, but she was grateful for the cake and would eat it with pleasure. The Duke was pleased to please her and also said that she could enjoy the rest of the show. Only now did Jade realize that he had been trying to please her. A week later, the maids did it, but it turned out very beautiful. The invitation to the distinguished party is ready, and the lady is also ready, so she said that she will return soon. The gentleman asked Robelia if she knew that they would now live together. Aina was very happy, because now she would have a sister, and they would live happily ever after. Malone asked his daughter what it all meant. Because Robelia is a dirty, illegitimate child, so there is no need to consider her as a sister. In the future, Aina may become an empress, and all thanks to Dad, and she will be just a servant, so his daughter can practice controlling people over her. And if she feels uncomfortable, she should just think it's her doll. Since she was a child, Aina has been the center of high society. Ephilentia is the strongest and richest after the imperial family, so no one wants to become their enemy. That's why most of the aristocrats were nice to her, and there were constant games with handkerchiefs. Everyone must serve her, including Jade Parado. If it weren't for Robelia, everyone loves her. Well, because of this doll, everything is wrong. Aina just wanted to ask for betrayal, but she dared to humiliate her in front of everyone. Robelia made a laughing stock of her, and Alain left immediately. Thus, she put her little sister in a very awkward position. This is unforgivable. The estate of Countess Dora Gereminus asked the lady for her hand, and she was grateful that he accompanied her. She came out herself. Perhaps she was embarrassed that he immediately fell on his knee. Sir noted that there was absolutely no reason to, since he himself had volunteered to accompany her. Robelia wanted to go alone, so as not to remain in his debt, but before leaving, he said that he would accompany her because it was dangerous. Robelia was surprised that Ephilentus's carriage was not here, and Aina was not there either. The maid said that she heard from another maid from the Ephilentia estate that Aina would not be at the party. It was unexpected she refused when she found out that Robelia would be there. For some reason, Aina is very capricious, or will she finally leave the lady alone? The plan remains the same anyway. Mr. Gereminus asked the lady to be careful, because he will be waiting with the carriage. He seems genuinely worried. There is pure goodwill in his eyes. He is afraid that she will feel uncomfortable, so he keeps his distance. He is very attentive. The lady said that she would return soon and said goodbye to the night Miss Robelia arrived. Everyone was shocked with you that this illegitimate girl from Ephilentia allowed herself to do such a thing. Many couples did not understand where she got the invitation here. She is the Duke of Parado's mistress, so she gets what she wants. Well, many predicted that they would not be together for long. Suddenly, Robelia looked in his direction, and the man was very scared. The theme of the party is music and poetry, and many people look scared there. That man has dark brown curly hair, black eyes. It looks like he is her target today. The Countess was grateful to everyone for coming. This is Helen Dora, Countess of the Dora family. The theme of this party is music and poetry. The Countess did not know what to say next. Maybe she should thank him, but she already did that, so she asked for forgiveness. Helen Dora is a close maid to Her Majesty. Most of the Queen's maids have influence in high society, but she is not good at hosting parties. She has a weak character that is not suitable for high society. Just a good friend of the Queen, nothing more, nothing less. Well, it will be easier to get closer to her. Her older sister Florin. Florin turned to her and asked if she was still nervous in front of the whole crowd. Florin can't help her forever, but she still told her sister to go to the hall. Because she's acting like a child, Helen organized a party. But for her, it's new, so Florin apologizes. The theme of this evening is music and poetry. In the first part, everyone can just chat. In the second, they will listen to a poet invited to them. Robelia noted that she is playing to the crowd, and Countess Dora has problems. The feud between Florin and Helen began with their marriage. Helen and Count Dora were dating and were planning to get married. He proposed after 5 years of dating. She happily agreed and began preparing for the wedding. The problem was that Florin was still unmarried, and it was considered a great disgrace in society to marry later than her younger sister. So Florin began to compete with Helen at every meeting. She wanted to take revenge for the shame she had suffered taking part in her parties and making her look ridiculous. She was destroying her reputation. Florin said that she was getting older, but still had the same intelligence, so she did not understand at all how she managed to get married. Years have passed since this happened, but the sisters' relationship has not improved. Helena can't send her away if only there was a way to restore her reputation. Suddenly, Robelia came up to her and asked if she would mind if she helped her. She finally found the real organizer of the party. The Countess was surprised when she saw her and noticed that she had not sent her an invitation. Well, the party's ruined anyway, so it doesn't matter, but she doesn't chase her away. Robelia thought about what she wanted, but decided to forget about it. In her place, she wouldn't listen to an illegitimate child either. But she will have to, because that is Robelia's plan. She turned to the Countess and said that everything can still be fixed. Lady Florin helped save the party. 10 years ago, her husband said that Robelia was Ephalentius's illegitimate child. When James was still alive, he saw her a couple of times and does not understand why she is so similar to him, even in her soft and bright character. After Julia and Malone's marriage, this child was suddenly excommunicated, and her patronymic was erased, leaving only her surname just like a commoner. He is very upset that this was done to James' child. Well, he can't interfere in the affairs of someone else's family because of his aristocratic pride. Perhaps this child was slandered. As her husband said, "We are related by blood, and their fates are very similar." So the lady agreed and said that she would listen to her. It turned out to be easier than Robelia thought, although even if she hadn't listened, she would have forced him to give a promise. But now we need to decide how to regain control of the holiday of her hand. The lady noted that Robelia's presence was a big surprise for her, but still, she was very glad to meet her. Florin noted that the last time they met was at the opera. Robelia didn't quite understand why this woman was telling her. This Florin asked if the lady remembered, since she was the one who approached her first. Robelia, I was sure, because her memory often fails. Florin noted that it was not surprising that she forgot, as her thoughts were occupied with something completely different. For example, the seduction of Duke Alan, sitting hand in hand with Duke Parado. Another man asked if she was really tired of being Ina's servant. It was funny. Miss Robelia seems to be unable to distinguish between good and bad deeds if she does this. The girl did not understand at all what this absurdity was about. It seemed that she decided to entertain the guests by mocking her. It doesn't matter on the path together. Such trifles are not important, because this is the meaning of her life. Today, Robelia will let them get away with it, but later when she proves that she is the true Ephalentia and appears before him again, it will be seen who will laugh last. So the lady decided to change the plan a little and said that it was very exciting. And now it was her turn to tell a love story. Robelia turned to the Viscountess and asked if she wanted to know about her husband's affairs, such as Lady Shrell. She recently saw them kissing at the academy. Everyone was in complete shock and couldn't believe it. The man said he didn't believe Lady Robelia's words, but judging by the Viscountess's reaction, it was true. This man betrayed his wife for an affair with a young girl, and it's even painful to watch. The Viscount tried to convince his wife that this was not true. He noted that Lady Shrell had recently come to them to return a fountain pen that she had forgotten. After this, the woman hit her husband on the cheek and then yelled at him that he had started an affair with her and decided to make a laughing stock of her in front of everyone. She started to leave and ordered him not to follow her, but still the Viscount rushed after her. Florin was simply horrified. I didn't understand how this girl dared to ruin her party. So she turned to Robelia and asked her what she was allowing herself to do. The girl said that she was just talking about love stories, because people are very interested in listening to them. Florin thought that she didn't even know who she was. She thought Robelia was just a vile brat. The mudblood was trying to get in her way. She should have just kept her mouth shut. A successful gem business would guarantee her a high position in society. So she said the girl could continue, and then they would see who would listen to her nonsense. Robelia asked if the lady was sure about this, and then said something in her ear. She asked if she mixed gems with fakes. She was so eager to show off the necklace that she put it on. But there was no money, so she orders high-quality fakes and collects super profits. It seemed to her that no one would ever know about it. This has happened many times over the past year because she really needs the money. If she dares to do it again, she will be exposed, and human desires are very dangerous, especially the aristocracy whom she deceived. The woman did not understand at all how she found out about it, and Robelia noted that she even put on a fake and did not even know whether it was bravery or rudeness. She also asked if anyone would stay on her side if the truth came out. Florin had no idea how she knew about this. Well, it doesn't matter now. If the truth comes out, then the path to society is closed to her. It will reach the company if the imperial family finds out about this. So the woman began to think about how she could hide it. Still, she told Robelia that she had made a terrible mistake. But Robelia thought that this was not enough. Florin knelt before her and asked what she wanted. The Duke was surprised that Robelia went to the party. The butler told him about it. Jade didn't understand at all how she could go there without even asking him to accompany her. Robelia didn't think she would be so scared. Things are moving much faster than she expected. This even plays into Robelia's hands. The girl said that she wants a sincere apology and a promise not to do it again, and that will be enough. Florin understood her and began to sincerely repent for her harsh words toward Lady Robelia, and she will be more careful in the future. Robelia said she thinks something like this will not happen again. Everyone thought Robelia was a terrible woman because she was driving the mistress to such a state, and it was also interesting what she had said to her. In principle, it doesn't matter what she said because it's terrible for an aristocrat to humiliate herself like that in front of a commoner. Florin decided that she would pretend to accept defeat but would take full revenge once she destroyed the evidence. Once she returned to the estate, this simpleton had no place in high society. Robelia added that she had better not do anything stupid in the future. She has the proof in her hands, so her secret can be revealed at any moment. Even if Robelia couldn't be in high society, Florin couldn't believe that it was possible, and she had foreseen it too. She better not show up to the party for a while if she has any sense left. It was a damn trap. Later, Robelia promised to send her a letter. It is very easy to make a person believe that there is dirt on him. Even this will be enough to subdue her. Helena had no idea what had happened here. It wasn't just Countess Dora, who had been taken by surprise. The other aristocrats were also unable to utter a word. Many believed that they had no reason to interfere in this scandal. Therefore, it was better to remain silent. Robelia asked her mistress for forgiveness for causing such a stir. She also asked if she could ask her to continue the party. They gathered to enjoy music and poetry. Helena said that was certainly true. This child is definitely my own. Helena announced the beginning of the poetry section. The next poem is called Serenade of Love. People are different, but they read about the same thing. Aristocrats thought that there was nothing interesting or entertaining about it. Robelia turned to the boy and asked if he was a poet, and also asked why he doesn't perform. The guy was shocked and told her that he is very confident in me and doesn't want to argue with her. Well, he doesn't know what kind of lady would like the poetry of a commoner, so he'll just listen and go home. He has even less self-confidence than Robelia thought. Although he has written so many beautiful poems, Therefore, the lady said that she thought everyone would like it. The guy didn't understand at all how she could know about this and was very embarrassed by her words. Robelia said she had read Wilhelm's poems. The guy was completely shocked that the ladies even knew his name. The girl said that she was not exactly a lady, so he could just call her Robelia. Suddenly, she read one of the poems, and then the guy remembered. The lady said it was incredibly beautiful. It was a trick, of course, but the compliment was sincere. Everyone writes about love, but only Wilhelm's poetry is imbued with deep meaning. Omnipotent nature. If he continues to convey his thoughts to people, he will definitely achieve success. The guy didn't understand at all how she knew about this, and even burst into tears. Robelia said she was no lady, so he couldn't take her word for it, but the boy wiped his eyes, and he said that it was more than enough. Helena was shocked by this, because he claimed that he invited brilliant poets, but they sang such banality. If this continues, the second part of the party will be ruined. Robelia turned to the lady, who immediately rejoiced when she saw her. Helena decided to ask who the guy was next to Robelia. After that, the guy introduced himself. Robelia assured the lady that he was a very talented poet, so she asked her for a chance to give this guy a performance. This is the same great poet Robelia was talking about on the balcony. He looks unreliable. Although Helena decided that it made no difference, so she was very happy to see him and invited him to perform. The guy decided he should give it a try. There was at least one person here who liked his lyrics. His fingers follow the rhythm precisely, and his voice is beautiful, like aged wine. Poet Wilhelm Meister, the one who will become the greatest poet of the whole century. Everyone feels a special atmosphere when he sings. It's worth baking in the sun, and the warm rays touch the skin. Wilhelm had already finished, and everyone was just in tears and applauded him. Robelia didn't think he would be so good. His debut at Helena's birthday party is a new page in his life. Helena had never heard such a beautiful song before, but no one would have known about such talent if it had not been for Lady Robelia. Hiding it would have been a crime, so she told the lady that she had a very keen eye for a nugget. Helena also asked the lady to give her a couple of minutes of her attention. Helena didn't think that Robelia had such a keen eye. It was the first time she had heard such a beautiful poem. It seems that today a truly great poet made his debut, and she also asked how the lady managed to put Florin in her place. Helena felt relief for the first time in 10 years. After such a trial, she would not appear in high society for some time. And all this, thanks to Miss Robelia. The girl said that she could contact her. Robelia had gained a little trust. We could move on to the plan. Suddenly, the Countess asked what she wanted from her. In high society, nothing comes for free, but she wanted it herself, so she accepted the help. Robelia didn't understand why the weak-looking Helena Dora was asking such sharp questions. If it wasn't something reckless, she would help. It's so old-fashioned. A weak woman couldn't stay in high society for so long. Therefore, Robelia asked the Countess to convey the words to Her Majesty. Helena asked her if she understood how difficult her request was. Robelia noted that she understood everything, but her request is not unreasonable. Just one sentence. She found beautiful tears that were long lost. Helena was in complete shock with you that she planned everything in advance. And how is that even possible? This is a smart child, so the woman began to think about what she should do. Whatever you say, it is better to repay debts immediately. After these words, the lady smiled and said that she would convey the words to Her Majesty. Finally, they found the Countess and told her that he had very good taste and was a very talented poet. The man said that he would never forget the poet, so he invited him to take part in his event. I noted that they had been friends for many years, so it would not be difficult for me to introduce him to the gentleman. Then, another man came up to her, and she asked him if he regretted his rudeness at the last party. Now all attention is on Helen. Indeed, if you invite a poet to your place, you need to ask permission from the organizer. Here, Robelia finished, so it was time for her to leave. That same poet was running after her. Wilhelm was very grateful, because it was only thanks to her that he was able to perform today. Robelia was surprised when she saw May and said that he was simply very talented and his poems were beautiful. Well, the guy didn't think so and said that she had betrayed the courage to speak out that he so lacked. Nobody believed in him, but he was able to overcome his fear thanks to her. Wilhelm was originally supposed to become famous in high circles in 4 years. Without Robelia's help, he was only upsetting his mother, but now she will be able to rejoice for him. Robelia only accelerated this process, pursuing personal gain, with whom he called the lady his savior, and how he asked to let him know if she needs any help, because he is ready to repay. Robelia smiled, because she was also pleased to hear such a thing. The guy noticed that the lady was very beautiful. Wilhelm said that he was the only one who should thank her. The guy saw such a beautiful lady for the first time. The next day, Parado Estate. The Duke did not know if he could ask why she went alone. She has such a character that she will start interrogating him as to why he is interested. Suddenly, Robelia asked if something was bothering him. The Duke was very scared and asked again. Now the Poes believed that he had a nightmare, and the Duke immediately said that this was exactly the case. It's been a long time, so he started asking when they would repeat the treatment. His subconscious needs to be checked, so the lady asks for her hand. Robelia knew this and brought the ingredients with her, after which the gentleman and lady joined hands. The Duke noticed that she was touching his hand again. They had done this before, but he was still not used to it. There is simply no other way. Another 2 days, and then they will be able to repeat the treatment after meeting with Her Highness. Jade remarked that it was great, and they would do it. And then in horror, he asked again who she would be meeting with. Robelia received an invitation from the palace. The lady suggested that she take a walk in the Palace of Roses in 2 days. The letter was sent anonymously. The meeting would be secret. The Duke was shocked, because Robelia received an invitation from the Empress, because he didn't think that everything would be so simple. But it's great. If it is the Rosemaker, then it is the only palace open to outsiders. You just need to choose the right outfit to enter. Perhaps they pretended to bump into each other by accident. The Duke said that if so, he asked permission to accompany her. He wanted to do it at least this once. 2 days later, the Palace of Roses Robelia and the Duke arrived at the place. Jade told her to be careful. The lady did not understand at all why he was so pleased. When he asked permission to accompany her, Robelia immediately said that she could manage on her own. Jade knew about it, but he thought it would be too suspicious if she came there alone. If they pretended to be on a date, it would look more natural. He'll be fine in 2 days. Robelia noted that he was right. If Malone knew about it, they would have an alibi. It is easier to meet the Empress in the Duke's company. It seems she is in his debt again. Robelia had heard that the garden at the Rose Palace was a labyrinth, but she couldn't imagine it being so big. People always have problems. When they first come here, you can wander here until sunset. Robelia now understood why most people didn't even go there. He noticed that only members of the imperial family knew their way around here. Now it was clear why she had arranged a meeting here. The man noted that they had not seen each other for a long time, and was shocked that the Duke of Parado was here. "This is Prince Cedric Fontenoy." The lady and the Duke greeted the gentleman at once, and he suggested that they omit the formalities, because they gathered because of Robelia's message. The prince's expression made the Duke a little angry. The prince told her to pass on because his mother was already waiting for her. The lady knew that the Empress was smart, but she didn't expect that she would invite the crown prince with her. So she told the Duke that she would go and return soon. But Jade didn't let go of her hand, and Robelia didn't understand what was going on. The Duke just wanted to kiss her. He didn't mind. I said he would wait. The prince would never have thought that the Duke could be so caring, because Cedric thought that he would not forget close relationships with girls. And to tell the truth, when he heard that they were dating, he thought that he was again trying to escape family pressure. Well, now he saw it all with his own eyes, and he doesn't even understand how they managed to meet. Hedrick decided to ask her what kind of person she thought the Duke was. Robelia said that he cared about her very much. The guy looked at her strangely and then said that it was wonderful, but she asked permission to give her advice so that she would not blindly trust the Duke and not forget about her goal. Robelia believed that he was simply dissatisfied with her meeting with the Empress. Well, at least he managed to trick him. The Duke didn't come for nothing. Cedric Fontenham, she felt his contempt when she was Ina's maid. But he always showed courtesy and gave gifts to win his sister's love. By what methods did he achieve the favor of the people? In turn, she always suffered mockery, therefore, because she was an illegitimate child without status. That's why Robelia is usually wary of Cedric. She feels so bad about it. The Crown Prince informed the Empress that she had already arrived. Robelia actually saw the Empress before her and asked if she was the same child whose words the servant had conveyed to her. Empress Helena Fontenham. For her, it is a big part, but the Empress only asked where he was, and then she ordered her to speak. Robelia was shocked because the mistress did not even let her introduce herself. How did she even find the blue diamond? And does she know its history? How does she know what she wants? The Empress was only concerned with how she learned everything, nothing more, nothing less, so she didn't even know what to do. Robelia said that it was now owned by the Lagratine family. She had heard that he had won it at an illegal auction that took place in the province of Conchieri.
The Empress was simply furious when she heard that name again if she got involved with them.
And she can't trust anyone with it either. Robelia said she would buy it and give it to the lady. The girl turned to Her Highness and said that all she had was a bad reputation and no influence. Therefore, no one will suspect anything if she has dealings with the Lagratina family. There were also rumors that Robelia Effalentia was an illegitimate child who became a commoner, first somehow received an invitation to a private party, and then convinced Helen to pass on the message to her. This child is so brave. She has the look of someone who has nothing left to lose, filled only with hatred. The Empress understands such people very well. They will achieve their goal at any cost, so she decided to see what she wanted. The Empress asked out loud what the lady wanted in return. The Crown Prince was completely shocked. The Empress believed that she hardly needed the money, and then she would have bought it and then sold it to her for an exorbitant sum. Perhaps she wants to attend an elite celebration, and then no one will dare to call her illegitimate anymore. Or she wants to marry the Duke of Parado. She is very interested in what Robelia Effalentia's wish is. After a short pause, the girl said that she didn't really need anything. Any other aristocrat could be asked directly, but in an empire the ruling family is an object of worship. Therefore, the Empress must be the one to choose the reward. So the girl said that she did not need anything. She has always sincerely admired the Empress and wants to be at least a little useful. Robelia has a very good reputation with me, but she will be very happy to help Her Majesty. That's all she wants. Suddenly the Empress laughed very loudly. She stood up and remarked that the girl was quite brave to decide to help her. Well, she decided to give her a chance, and then asked what she could do. It worked. The Empress herself came to this idea. Robelia heard that there was a vacancy in the palace. It would be a great honor for her to participate in the life of Her Majesty in this position. The Empress asked if she wanted to be her subordinate. However, she agreed, because she saw her talent for getting useful things, so she would take that position. Malone always wanted his daughter to take the position of confidant, but it will go to Robelia. If she accumulates capital in this position, she will be able to expand her business quickly. This is the first step to restoring her as Effalentia. The girl will undergo training, a pure formality. And then the lady asked where she could send the letter. Robelia said that the Empress could send to the academy. The woman decided to do so, and noted that she should remember that their meeting today was an accident. Robelia was just walking around the Rose Palace. She liked her intelligence, so the post went to her. She won't be able to access the treasury, but she will allocate some money as a reward for today. The girl was very grateful and understood that the Empress did not entrust her with the management of the property, but only rewarded her for the diamond. But even this is a good result. At the first stages, she will be able to invest without her help. Mom asked Cedric to take Robelia home. Then the boy thought about something. Cedric turned to Robelia and did not understand why she did not return to the Effalentia family. The girl didn't quite understand why he started talking like that. The prince knows that she has always envied Aina. Anyone in her place would feel the same way, especially since Aina is purebred and she is an illegitimate commoner. It's hard to deny, but Robelia is a commoner, so she shouldn't try to jump above her head. Cedric heard that she and her sister had a fight at the theater. She cares about her so much, so it would be worth being at least a little grateful. And she got involved with a powerful man in a dissolute way, but from this, she did not become more worthy. Robelia said that she had no disagreements with the lady. The prince was shocked because she said something different. Robelia was sure that the crown prince was a wise man, and he did not make hasty conclusions after hearing only one side. Her relationship with the duke is just a coincidence. He accuses her of debauchery. If so, the Duke of Parado is not so stupid as to stay in his house with a harlot. The prince said to be careful with the duke. It is the only family that even the royal dynasty cannot look down on. After listening to Robelia, Cedric understands why Aina is so sad. People change very unexpectedly. A couple of months ago, she was kind to Robelia. The Duke came up to them and interrupted the conversation. He apologized for not noticing it right away. The gentleman simply missed his beloved and therefore asks to forgive his rudeness. The prince said he could take her. Robelia tried to apologize for today, but everything she said was true, even if he thinks that Aina is right in this situation. After that, they quickly went home. The Duke of Parado's estate. Robelia needs to hurry to the academy. The count will definitely come when he learns of her position in the palace. Therefore, she will have to play the fool. The rest of the luggage that the Duke did not carry is already in the carriage. Jade turned to Robelia and asked if he could help with anything. The lady said that nothing was needed because she would deal with the count herself. The Duke's presence would only make Malone even more wary. The Duke trusts her, but it is dangerous to go there alone, so he asks her to take at least Eureminus with her. The lady nevertheless agreed and told the Duke that she was very grateful to him for helping her today. Jade smiled and said that there was nothing to thank him for. When a message came from Her Majesty, he would come and pick her up. Count Effalentia arrived. He was shocked with you that she lives here. Who would have thought that the palace would make such a decision? And he found out about it when the Empress had already issued the decree. The Count turned to the butler and said that he was looking for the room of the student Robelia. Eureminus asked the lady what she was doing. The girl replied that she needed to pretend that she was studying. If the Count found out that she didn't even live here, he would take her away again. So she asked the knight to help her. Eureminus didn't mind at all. The Duke was heading very quickly towards his niece's room. Yes, he came up and assured the gentleman whether this was definitely Robelia's room. Malone burst into her room, and Eureminus was still talking to the lady about something else. He shouted the girl's name, and she wondered what he was doing there. The man noticed the knight Parado here. Malone didn't understand at all what he was doing here, and all this irritated him very much. Although he didn't even need to know, he would just tell him to leave. So the gentleman said he had something to say to Robelia. She asked Eureminus to leave them for a minute. The knight tried to say something, but the lady asked him to stand by the door and to come in immediately at the slightest noise. Eureminus was very twirl because he had heard many rumors about the relationship between Count Effalentia and Robelia. So now he is not sure about the rightness of her decision. The Count was told that she had a meeting with the Empress in the Rose Garden, so he wonders what Anna said that made her suddenly decide to make her manager. Robelia said that Her Majesty only inquired why she had left the Count's residence and asked if she had been happy there, to which she had answered in the affirmative. Robelia told her how much the Count loved her, to which Her Majesty did her a favor and allowed her to choose what she wanted. The Empress agreed that the Count was a good man, so she made her and the whole house of Effalentia enter into service in the palace. Malone was shocked with you that she accepted him. The girl noted that he said that if she accepted him, then Ephelentia would return to its former glory. Malone screamed that he was talking about this place being meant for Ina. He had put so much effort into it. Robelia began to say that she didn't know, and would ask the Empress to cancel the order right now. Malone asked if she was really that stupid, or just pretending, saying if she did that, then he would no longer be safe. Robelia resisted the king's order precisely because of Ina. The very fact that she was accepted into the palace service is proof of how hard he worked. The idiot Empress gave her this position only because she thought he loved her like his daughter, and now she realized that the position was not originally intended for her, so it is better not to do anything now. Robelia should just quietly learn to knit at the academy. He means he will wait until that bad Empress gets tired of her and kicks her out of the palace. Robelia promised to carry out his order. When Jeremias entered the mistress's room, he immediately asked if she was okay. The lady asked if there was any reason for her to be unwell. Sir Jeremias, though outside, never let down his guard for a moment. The Count would never dare to harm her, and it is true that she feels fine. The knight was very eager to help her, and thought that perhaps she was too tense. If this was so, he decided to tell her that she would remain by her side until the Queen issued a decree. As a result, Robelia stayed at the academy for 3 days, waiting for the imperial decree. After classes, she usually went to the academy library. She took only as many books as she could carry and read them all night long. And all this time, as Sir Jeremias had promised, he was always with her. Robelia asked the knight what his thoughts were on the doctrine of war. Robelia said that war is a collection of violent events, and their purpose is to force the enemy and his forces to admit defeat. Suddenly, Professor Bridneel came to her. The girl assumed that something had happened since she had rushed into the room like that. Professor Bridneel was a member of the Academy's admissions committee. The woman shouted that Her Majesty the Empress had sent a decree to Robelia. Everyone who was in the library began to think about what kind of decree this was and what its content was. Finally, he came out. Robelia wondered where she should go. First, she had to go to the dean's office. The lady said that she was coming right now. There was a guy walking next to her with a lot of books, and he started to fall, thereby hitting the lady. But Jeremias managed to catch her. Jeremias asked the boy if Leon was okay, and if he was trying to cause harm. The boy apologized because he couldn't see what was in front of him because of the whole mountain of books. Robelia sat down and took his glasses, after which the guy became very embarrassed and immediately thanked the lady and quickly ran away. It looks expensive. He probably accidentally dropped it and didn't even notice his brooch. I'll have to give it to him when they meet. The professor asked the lady if she could hurry to the dean's office. When they were already there, the professor said that she could enter the reception room. The woman was glad to finally see the lady and noted that they had not seen each other for a long time. Robelia was very surprised when she saw Countess Dora in front of her. The countess said to look at what one of the maids had just brought. This is the Empress's decree, which is intended for the one hired to be the manager of the imperial palace. Robelia thought that this letter with the seal must be the decree, so she asked what it was. This is the key to Her Majesty's personal treasury. From now on, she is responsible for this thing. If she goes to the bank, she will be able to find the budget, distribute it, and use this key. The rest of Her Majesty's property is also managed by Robelia. The girl thought that this was obvious. If she squandered all her property, she would lose the Empress's support. The Countess had also already heard that the Empress had entrusted this position to Robelia. Therefore, the girl must live up to her expectations. If she fails, her position will go to someone else. If this is a manifestation of the blue diamond, then she will never be disappointed in it. Tomorrow the Countess will get what she wants from the Empress. The Countess was in shock with you that this would happen tomorrow because she could not find a trace of her for several years. Although she has no experience of being in the upper class, she acts as if she has been at this level for more than 10 years. In addition, she is also in the very center of the elite, knowing everything. If she's come this far, it's obvious she has nothing to lose. It's such a surprise. The Countess didn't even know what to answer her. Now, only to warn her about the danger of this incident. There is still one monumental obstacle ahead, and that is Robelia. The Empress is not the kind of person who will trust another just like that. Helena turned to Miss Robelia and said that if she still wished to serve Her Majesty, she must understand that they were now in the same boat, and the Countess is now satisfied with her. But she should be more careful with her behavior. Any small misdeed can harm the Empress because her reputation will suffer. The Countess will stop her by all means. And also, she must convince herself that this profession also gives her a huge responsibility, which not everyone can handle. Although she seems to have a fairly good understanding of how elite society works, the girl has only just entered adulthood. Perhaps the Countess had frightened her too much, and she hoped that the girl's motivation had not dropped. Robelia told the lady that there was no need to worry, because she will remember her advice. It looks like the worries were in vain. The knight asked the lady if she was sure that she could go outside. Robelia said that having become the manager of the palace, she can now come and go freely without any permission. Suddenly, they saw a carriage, from which the Duke of Parado was getting out. The lady was very surprised when she saw it and did not understand what he was doing there. Jade heard that she received the Empress's decree, so he came to her and asked how she was doing. Robelia said that Sir Gereminus helped her a lot with this. Come to think of it, she was with Joachim for 3 whole days. The man asked her to tell him what had happened during all this time. Of course they would talk about it. On the way back in the carriage, Robelia was not at all against it and offered him her hand. Robelia said that she had received the key to the treasury. She was going to the bank to get money to buy diamonds. The Duke asked if she was serious about this and if she had ever been to a bank. She had never been and had never had any reason to go there before. The Duke suggested that they go together, since this was the only imperial bank she knew, that the building seemed enormous. But Robelia didn't even imagine that there would be so many people here. They would have to wait until the very end of that line, and it would take a long time. There were a lot of people there. The gentleman told the girl to come in and say her name, and then he would put her in line. The woman noticed that it was the Duke of Parado, so she told the boy to go ahead and she would take care of them. The girl immediately bowed and greeted the gentleman. It was the vibe of 10 years of experience interacting with society. The visit of the gentleman is a great honor for them, and they will take him to the VIP room. It's 1,200,000,000 Meniki. Robelia feels that this is new for him too, but the influence of the Duke of Parado is amazing. If it weren't for him, she would have had to stand in line for several hours. The gentleman did not quite understand why she was looking at him like that, but he smiled at her. Robelia asked His Excellency if he could go into the estate first. This world is so unfair. This is too weird. He wanted to tell Miss that no matter what he did wrong, she wouldn't behave like that. That same night, the estate of Count Lagratina father did not understand at all when all these gems will be sold and smashed everything in his path. He heard from the servants that he sold the blue diamond for 80 million Meniki. The guy tried to say something about a curse. She met you that it doesn't matter whether he is cursed or not, because he sold an extremely valuable gem at such a low price. If he had sold it for a symbolic 100 million, the income would have already become 20 million. The father did not expect this from his son. He knew that the guy would not become successful, but to do it like that, the guy shouted that he would bargain. Alan told him to double it. He'd get 160 million. He can't say he decided to go 15 times higher because he didn't know how his dad would react. The father decided to ask when he decided to bargain, and the guy said that it was something else. But they were interrupted by the favor, who turned to Alan. Miss Robelia said she wanted to negotiate with him, so she asked for a meeting. Alan asked the servants to leave them alone. The master provided the stone, the sale of which they had agreed upon. Robelia asked if she could look at him, and the gentleman of course did not mind. She said that she would buy this damned gem at such an exorbitant price. Then he gave in to temptation and gave the go-ahead for the deal. But no matter how much he thought about it, he still couldn't understand. What if he pretended like nothing happened? So he said it would be fine if she only paid him 100 million. The lady said that he bought it for 80, and then she promised him 15 times more, which is 1,200 million. The man was in complete shock when he saw so much money in front of him. Alan told the lady that he would accompany her to the carriage if she did not object. He is very grateful for today's deal, and she probably has no idea how much he gained from it. Robelia said that this is not true for her. This stone is also very important. Besides, she believes that she paid a fair price for it. He also heard that the lady met Lewis at the academy. Robelia asked you, so the guy noted that it seemed she didn't know. She meets dozens of different people at the academy. The lady had a hunch that he was referring to his half-brother Lewis. Robelia said that she felt like they had never met and that she regretted it. The guy said everything was fine and asked her to get there safe and sound. The next morning, the Pink Palace, Helena asked Her Highness if the girl had found the necessary stone. The lady said that this was exactly what she was looking for. The Empress was very pleased with this stone. Suddenly, someone knocked on Robelia's door. The girl asked Sir Gereminus what brought him to her. The gentleman immediately presented the letter, and this surprised Robelia. She became interested in who it was from. But Sir Horror showed there that she should be quieter and not talk. The fact that the Duke gave the order and sent a knight shows that he was very concerned about the issue of security. Robelia realized that this letter was sent from the Imperial Palace. She was going to hold a reception in a week to thank the girl for her efforts, so she had to be ready. In addition, from now on, Robelia will be entitled to 2,400,000,000 meniki, so she can use them as she pleases. The illegitimate child of a count, the daughter of a despised gypsy. She had heard such insults countless times. Well, they couldn't break her because she had a purpose. Robelia started her journey as an ordinary person, with nothing to her name, met many people, and they gave her courage. If all these people weren't around, she wouldn't have been able to achieve what she has now. 2,400 million. This amount is enough to open the next business that she has been planning for so long. Now the circumstances are on her side, so she will not miss this chance at any cost. Robelia remembered her mother's last words. Even now when she closes her eyes, she can hear her mother's weak voice. Fortune is on her side since she's here, but this time it's going to be different, and she's ready to get to Malone. The Count will not get off easy with death. It will take absolutely everything from him. He will do it in the most painful and torturous way. Robelia wants to kill him. Robelia asked her mother to wait a little longer, and then she would return the true Ephelentia family. Robelia asked for forgiveness. She was going to start treatment immediately after meeting with Her Highness and the Empress. Well, the Count stayed at the academy and arrived so late. The Duke said that everything was fine, and the nightmares went away after the first time. Jade asked if he needed to continue being unconscious every time. The lady can do nothing about this, but she can share with him a trick on how to induce lucid dreams. You need to set up signs. By doing this, the gentleman will begin to notice them and will be able to faintly realize what is happening and wonder if this is a dream. When the gentleman notices, for example, that his fingers are bending back, or look at his watch, about the fingers a little scary, but he likes the idea, with still braiding yourself, especially since he always wears a pocket watch. The lady noticed that they looked very old, so she wondered what they meant to him. Robelia asked the Duke to make a habit of looking at his watch at regular times, so that he would be more likely to look at it in his sleep. The Duke asked if she was saying that he should get used to it, and then he thought that they would not be able to achieve results in this today. Robelia said probably not. It would be difficult to achieve lucid dreaming right now. The maids were talking about that girl, and they heard that the Duke had called her to him that night too. He never showed much interest in women, but it seems like this time he's really fallen in love. Another maid thought there was no love there, because she could see last time how he saw her off at dawn, did what I wanted, and threw her out. One of the maids noticed the master, and the others continued to talk about how a commoner could not please the Duke. and they didn't understand at all why he called a mudblood of gypsy blood his beloved. The maid thought that she was much better than Mrs. Robelia. The Duke could not even imagine that such horror would happen in his house. The maid immediately began to say that it was not what he thought Jade said, that the servants of an aristocrat gossip about their master's personal life, like some rats, and insult his dear guest as much as they can. The Duke's authority is no joke to them. With their chatter, they have damaged his part as Duke, and now they must take responsibility for it. He ordered the maids to pack their things before dawn and leave the estate. They did not understand at all how he could do this, and the Duke added that they would pay for their mockery, and he will write me recommendations for them. Services that were fired without giving a recommendation. The only way out is to the street. They will never be able to work for the aristocrats again. The aristocrats will never accept those who have caused problems in another estate. Moreover, with all due respect to the Duke of Parado, there is no daredevil who would dare to hire someone who was kicked out of his house. Jade asked Robelia if she was okay. The girl closed her eyes and said yes. Her face didn't show that anything had happened. Robelia couldn't understand why the Duke was angry and so cruel to the maids. The Duke said he was so ashamed that she had to listen to such things on his estate. But she seems to have an idea of why it was hard for her to accept that he was angry because he was worried about her. So she pretended not to know anything. The Duke is a good man. The kindness he has shown her all this time is the highest measure of care that one person can show to another. But because of this, her chest feels like it's being squeezed by a vice. Because she's so pathetic that she's surprised by good treatment from anyone. Because she seems like a beggar who grew up without even getting a literacy. The lady said that everything is fine, and there is no need to worry. The Duke was that she wasn't even angry. Robelia only said that these people had nothing to do with her plan for revenge. The Duke shouted that it didn't matter who they were because she had been unfairly insulted. So the girls should get angry and put them in their place. Jade is genuinely worried that this might break her inside. After all, she is his guest, so he can't worry about her. Just in case, as she has already said, she is not interested in anything unless it concerns the return of the inheritance that is rightfully due to her. No matter what they say about her, no matter how people treat her, if they are not involved in the plan together, then it makes no difference to her. She doesn't want to get used to such a warm human attitude, because if it disappears anyway, it would be better not to feel it at all. That's why the lady asked him not to treat her specially, but as an ordinary person. Surely for the Duke, such care is normal, but for her, it means letting him get too close. Jade said he understood and offered to continue her treatment, but somehow he seemed more hurt than Robelia. The girl said she would start, and then she found herself in his dream. She believed it was the reception hall of the Imperial Palace. In the original, the second cure was a memory of a battle with monsters. The Duke's subconscious changed the dream. Apparently, who he talked to right before going to bed and what he talked about leaves its mark. Robelia tried to concentrate, judging by the fact that the story takes place in the Imperial Palace. This is the fifth dream from the original, called The Reception at the Palace. The reception the Emperor gave to congratulate the Duke of Parado on his victory. Here the curse first appeared. Now is the time for them to come out. The servant said that everyone should greet His Majesty, the Emperor and Her Majesty the Empress, and also His Highness the Prince and His Highness the Duke of Parado walked together with smiles on their faces. This appointment took place 4 years ago, when Jade was 19. He looks younger than she thought, and perhaps her memory is failing her. At the Fencing Masters tournament, he seemed very grown up. The ladies were very happy to see the gentleman, and it seemed he was looking at them. In any case, the incident with the attack itself will happen during the landing, so it would be better to leave in advance. In the hall, the Duke met the main character's gaze, and she immediately turned around and left. She did not understand what it was. After all, they had met each other with their eyes. Robelia decided that this couldn't be happening because there were so many people there, and he wouldn't be able to see her. The Duke turned to Robelia and said that he had not seen her before, It was surprising to meet a stranger here. The girl didn't understand at all when he managed to come here. Only members of the upper class were invited to today's reception, so he didn't expect to see an unfamiliar face. Robelia felt relieved that he didn't recognize her. That was enough because it was time to pull herself together. If he senses anything suspicious, the curse may not be effective. Robelia said that it was her first time at such a reception, so it was not surprising that the Duke did not recognize her face. Robelia noted that he was the main character, so she didn't quite understand why he went out into the garden so quickly. The gentleman said that it was just like that. He doesn't like such luxurious receptions. Robelia interested him more. The girl did not understand why. He simply doesn't turn down girls for me, but picks up any girl. After that, the Duke laughed. Jade asked what was wrong, and noted that her face looked like she had seen something shameless. It's probably because she met him for the first time today. The Duke said it was a mirror situation, because he hadn't seen her either. But she interested him more, so he decided to ask her if she would believe him if he said that he fell in love with her at first sight. Robelia apologized and asked again what it meant. Dukes himself did not know. He realized that he had embarrassed the girl by speaking frankly. It was obvious that this was their first meeting, but for some reason he had the feeling that he had known her before. Then he had a hunch that this feeling was love. Robelia believed that he simply remembered their contractual relationship in reality. Well, that's impossible unless he's in a lucid dream. Jade said it might sound weird, but she seems different. He lost his head at the sight of her. Suddenly, he began to have an attack of need to find the curse mark and get rid of it. Robelia didn't even know where she could be this time. Jade asked her to go to the hall and call someone. The Duke continued to say that he was a monster. The Duke was so shocked because this was his first attack. Even from the outside, such a sight makes the blood run cold. Feels like he's turning into a monster. It's terrifying to feel like the monster is slowly consuming his personality. Robelia asked Jade to breathe slowly. The man apologized for grabbing her. The Duke asked her not to run away and to help him. When he unbuttoned his shirt, she saw a mark on him. The guy kept saying that he was so ugly, that he was asking for forgiveness for being like that. Robelia said that there was no problem at all, because she knows he won't hurt her, but his hand became like a monster's. Jade said again that he was a monster, but the lady doesn't think so because everything is fine. Robelia assured Jade that he was a monster to me. If what he saw was too scary, then he should close his eyes and then everything would be fine. Suddenly, he calmed down, and even Robelia was surprised. She bit her finger and blotted out his mark with blood. She asked the Duke to be patient for a little while. It would all be over soon. He was completely exhausted. Well, if the dream fully conveyed the suffering that he experienced during the first attack, then it was very difficult for him. But now it was time to return to reality. She took his hand herself, and in a few seconds, she was already in reality. Robelia was so tired, so she decided to sleep a little, and then she would feel better. The Duke asked her not to leave. He said all this in his sleep and lay in tears. Before him, it was so easy to ask for help from a stranger. These moments, she feels how different they are. There were people in her life who not only didn't help her in trouble, but only pulled her deeper into a dark pool. Because of people like that, she doesn't trust anyone anymore. However, she seems to be a little jealous of him. Robelia was so exhausted that she couldn't cope and fell asleep right on his arm. The maid knocked on the master's door and said she was coming in. She prepared water for him to bathe. The Duke told her that Robelia was still sleeping, so she asked her to come later. Aina was informed that an invitation to a reception had arrived from the imperial palace. The girl was very happy because it was Her Highness who had invited her. Only the maid still needed to tell the mistress something. Aina decided to listen to her with pleasure. According to the Count, this girl has taken the place of the palace representative. Robelia will also be present at the reception. Now Aina understood what was going on. Everything was fine because it was her duty to look after the missing family member. The maid thought that her eyes were deceiving her because she was so angry after visiting the opera house. For some reason, she suddenly behaved differently. Aina is the legitimate child of the Ephilentia family, the most kind-hearted and beautiful candidate in line for the throne. There is no doubt about it. Apparently, the sister had to leave home because she could not bear the feeling of her own inferiority. As proof, she constantly takes away what rightfully belongs to Aina. In any case, the sister has taken up a very insignificant place. In that case, Aina, the future empress, must pretend to be the protector of a family member who constantly goes beyond the pale. So be it, only this time she would give her another chance. The empress's reception would take place in a week. She had been subjected to unfair insults. It would have been better if she had been angry at such an attitude. The Duke believed that he should not have been so harsh. It was the first time he saw such an expression on her face. The butler came up to him because the master had called him names. The Duke turned to Geralt and asked if he knew why he had called him. The butler believed that it was because of the scandal that had happened the other day. The butler was informed. Well, for some reason, he let it go that far. Jade invited Miss Robelia to win the guests at the Parado estate. He told her to take care of her so that during her stay here, she would not feel the need for anything. He did not expect that his butler would not understand the order. So frightening that the body went cold. The butler was too self-assured, stuck in the rumors that were spreading around. In the end, he took Miss Robelia lightly. Although he saw the arrogant behavior of the maids, he simply turned a blind eye to it. The blame for this incident lies entirely with him, and nothing else. In connection with what happened, the Duke decided to punish him. The butler immediately fell to his knees and began to ask for forgiveness, and said that he realized his guilt too late and was ready to be punished, but only asked to be given a chance to correct the mistakes he had made. Geralt promised to do everything possible for this. The Duke said, so be it this time, he would believe him. He expected this from a butler, and he also added that he should be ready to work overtime. The Empress thanked everyone for accepting the invitation, and she would like to introduce one person to them. People talked among themselves and did not understand who it could be. The Empress asked Robelia to come to her, so she stood up and walked towards her mistress. When the girl walked, she heard a lot of words behind her. Many did not understand who this girl was, and could not believe that she could have something with the Empress. Robelia had already approached Her Highness, and was glad to greet the only moon of their country. The Empress asked her to stay next to her. Robelia said that it was too great an honor for her. The Empress should introduce her. A few weeks ago, while walking in the garden of the Pink Palace, she met this child by chance. Because of her impressive resourcefulness, she wanted to have her by her side, so she entrusted her with the position of palace representative. Aina did not understand at all how it happened that her sister was standing next to Her Majesty. She couldn't just take her place, the most honorable place that can be occupied by people who are not from the royal family. Even Aina from Count Ephilantia's family has not yet had the opportunity to stand there. Robelia is the child who will become her right hand, and it would be better if they all remembered this face well. As she already said, today's reception was organized for her, but they should not be upset that they did not become the main characters. She prepared many different activities for them to enjoy the reception. Everyone couldn't believe it and said they would do whatever she prepared. Many people wanted to talk to Miss Robelia, who had managed to conquer Her Highness. The Empress said that they could enjoy it. Aina approached her sister. She congratulated her on her position as a representative. She also said that she needed to tell her something, so she wanted to talk to her alone. Robelia turned to Lady Aina and asked what she wanted to tell her. Aina closed the doors and turned to her sister with a smile, saying that she wanted to give her a chance. Robelia left the Ephilentia family due to leaving for the academy without telling her a word. She didn't send her a single message, after which they met for the first time at the opera house. Aina had no idea that the two of them had become so close. If she had known that they were in a relationship, she wouldn't have given her to him. But anger boiled up inside her because of the shame that she had brought upon her. Robelia did not quite understand where she was leading. Aina said that despite everything she forgives her, because all people make mistakes and everyone knows it. Robelia is her sister, not some stranger, so who will look after her if not Aina? Robelia was absolutely horrified when she heard that she was forgiving her and asked her to stop. Aina said that she would give her a chance, so she should return to the Ephilentia family. The ladies noticed the same poet, who was at the Countess's party. One of the ladies turned to Her Highness and asked if this guy was the poet Wilhelm, who had participated in Countess Dora's salon party. Even the nitpicking literary critics did not skimp on praise then. He is amazing despite his young age. The lady said that thanks to her knowledge of art would improve, so she thanked Her Highness for the great mercy. The Empress noticed that this was so, and she was curious too. So she asked the boy to hurry up and begin. Everyone listened to the boy's music and poetry with delight. The Empress noticed that his voice was like an angel's singing. After that, when he finished, everyone stood up and started applauding the boy. Everyone recited only tiresome verses in praise of the Empress, but of all she had ever heard, his voice was the most beautiful, and his verses touched her to the depths of her soul. So the lady asked the boy to come. To her, Wilhelm was deeply grateful. The ladies said that his singing was even better than they said they heard such beautiful poems for the first time. And they also felt that they had to do what they had wanted for a long time. The Empress noted that they all thought so, and Helen spoke well of him, and the poems turned out to be beautiful. She also liked them. He knelt before the Empress and was also grateful to Her Highness. She had already asked him to rise, because she loves it when gifted people drop conventions. The Empress became interested in how he had written such verses. He wanted to share with others the courage that his benefactress had given her. It turns out that even geniuses like him find inspiration in other people. The Empress was curious about who helped him, because the lady wants to repay him with gifts for giving her ears such delight. Wilhelm noted that she helped him dedicate a poem to Her Highness, helped to gather strength when it was scary to perform in front of a large audience. The Empress remembered that she heard that this child first recited his poems at Helen's salon parties. The Empress remembered Helena telling her that thanks to Robelia, the party had been a great success. The guy said that his patroness is Lady Robelia. Suddenly, the Empress laughed very loudly and said that this was true, because this girl was incredibly talented. This time, too, she exceeded all her expectations, so the lady immediately wanted to invite her to her place. But the lady was surprised when she did not find Robelia there. The lady said that she went to the restroom with Lady Ina, and also asked if she needed to call her. Elena thought about the fact that she went to the restroom, and then the Empress said that it was not worth it because she would bring her herself because she wanted to learn so many things from this child. Then the lady went into the room, and she heard Aina telling her to leave her position as the royal representative. The lady did not understand at all what this meant and did not want to believe that Lady Aina dared to doubt her decision. Aina did not understand at all why she entered the room now, and therefore burst into tears and began to ask for forgiveness because she said it in a fit of emotion. Aina said that she did not want to contradict Her Majesty anymore, so she begged forgiveness very vehemently. Robelia begged forgiveness and said that she believed that in her private conversation with her Lady Ina had said something that was not right. The people behind her were telling Her Majesty that although the lady's actions were reprehensible, she had come to praise Lady Robelia's efforts and also make a generous reward, even if she is the daughter of Ephialentius, for the fact that she dared not accept the imperial decree. Punishment is due, but the Empress had arranged this reception to honor Robelia. If she dined as a punishment, the attention of the aristocracy would be directed at Aina, not Robelia. Besides, she herself does not want this, and asks not to allow such a situation. So she said that this time she will let the lady go unpunished. Aina thanked the lady, and then promised that this would never happen again. Well, if such a situation arises again, then people should be prepared to feel the full wrath of the Empress. Elena hoped that today's incident had taught the lady to watch her language. When the Empress returned with the girl, many began to ask the lady whether she really was Wilhelm's benefactress. Robelia noted that she thought that benefactress was a big exaggeration. It's surprising that she managed to become the queen's favorite, since she is from the common people to boot. The woman asked her friend if she remembered the rumors that Lady Robelia might be the legitimate daughter of the Effalentia family. True, there were such conversations, and many recall that quite a large number of people had doubts at that time. Yes, she would have been so modest and well-mannered to me if aristocratic spirit had not flowed through her veins. Sounds like she's truly a legitimate Effalentia. Robelia took what belongs to Aina, so the girl started asking her father what she should do. Malone was already very tired. The last thing he needed was for that stupid girl to take away everything that belonged to his daughter. As for the position of palace representative, it is not Robelia's place, but their Effalentia clans. She should at least imagine how vile this girl is, and how much trouble she is causing. As soon as the Empress herself understands this, she will, without thinking twice, take away the tablet of the palace representative. And then Aina will be in her place. From this point on, as the Empress introduces Robelia to high society, Aina must demonstrate the good manners of a legitimate child against her background. They will be compared constantly. Aina thought about it and understood that everything was lost, and no one will compare them anymore. She screamed at her father that he had simply said that she simply needed to be noble around Robelia, and then, instead of the palace representative, will belong to her. But in the end, something else. The Empress gave her a place for herself, not Ain. Seeing this, others began to approach their sister and start friendly conversations. She can't take such an important place from her, so Aina doesn't understand why everything is like this. And why did he let this parasite into their house at all? She asked her father if he knew what people were saying. They all thought that the girl was Effalentius's legitimate child, and the girl thought that it was all because of her father. And then Malone raised his hand to his daughter. The man simply hit her in the face. Aina could not believe that her father hit her and thought that it was not true. But still, the girl decided to ask her father why he did it. Malone raised her, and this is how she repaid him. She was disgraced at a salon party, and his daughter came as if nothing had happened. He was horrified that she had heard rumors that Robelia was a legitimate child. And with all this, she just calmly left there and did not object to these rumors in any way. Malone shouted that he had eaten and invested so much in order to gain the Empress's favor, and she could not even help but disgrace them. Father said that if she had done as she was told, there would have been no problems, but she ruined everything. Therefore, she must remember well that everything that Effalentius has is not her property. Her father gave her all of this, the clothes she wears, the best food she eats every day, right down to how everyone idolizes her. If she understood everything, then he ordered her to stay in her room for a whole month. No food until she realizes her mistakes. Aina thought about how her father doesn't love her. Malone ordered the maids not to give her water until he ordered otherwise. The Count noted that this should have been done earlier. Aina was shocked because she was his daughter, just like her sister, in her hands. She herself was a puppet in her father's hands. Aina was a way to bring honor to the Effalentia family, and she finally realized it. The gardener approached the Duke and said that he would take care of it, but the gentleman said that it was not worth it, and that he had better go and rest since it was not late yet. He did not understand how, after all, the Duke was cutting his favorite flowers. He told the master that he could not rest while he was doing his work for him. Lady Robelia approached them. The Duke was glad to see her and also asked if everything went well. For some reason, this was the first time they met since that day, and it still felt so awkward. I already said that I liked the Empress, and the Duke noted that it always felt like she could handle difficult tasks as if they were nothing to her. Robelia said that she was lucky this time, and now she had to tell him. The Duke said that even if she was lucky, it still wasn't easy to do. Robelia really wanted to apologize to him. It was necessary to draw a line, but she couldn't hurt him. As soon as he finishes speaking, she wants to apologize to him. But suddenly the Duke himself asked for forgiveness for yesterday. He raised his voice because he was worried about her. She must have been scared. So he asked for forgiveness, that she was so upset that she said all sorts of things without trying to understand her, and also promised to be more careful in the future. At that moment, strangely, she felt calm, but she did not understand at all why this was so. Robelia thought it was because she was the first to be reached out for a hand again. She also apologized for her harsh words. Why did you warm her heart? Now she is going to open her own business. The Duke asked her what she thought about her first business and whether she was thinking of opening a boutique. But of course, the enterprise would be simple, but not that simple. Robelia wants to go to Meodanion. The Duke realized that this is the mining area which is to the west, and then he noted that it was very dangerous, as she herself knew who had failed in business and lost everything was settling in those lands. Therefore, they are not famous for their safety. Even with a large capital, it will not be possible to start mining, and the risks of such an enterprise are incredibly high. No matter how much money she invests, if she doesn't make a profit, in the end, all that will be left in her hands is the earth and stones. That's what the mining business is. The lady noted that the Duke was right. The mines were high risk, but if you succeeded, there was no better way to get rich. Jade added that there was another problem. This place was almost entirely owned by Count Ephilentia. The girl has a good mine in mind, and the Count won't know that it's her. This time, Robelia is going to play a game that only benefits her. To do this, she wants to ask the Duke for something. The Duke smiled and noted that it seemed she had a plan again. Whatever it was, he would be happy to help. The servant gave the lady the thing she asked for. Because it was already finished, Robelia noticed that it really was like the real thing. Robelia was very grateful, and she did not know that the herald had connections in such places. The butler noted that her actions would be limited, and the Duke again inquired whether the commoner's identity card would be suitable. Robelia said that it was so because she was also from the common people, and she also asked to convey her gratitude to the Duke. Aristocrats are too famous. Suddenly, the butler turned to the lady and asked for forgiveness for what had happened. Robelia didn't quite understand what he meant. The butler hadn't performed his duties as a butler with due diligence and had treated her rudely, so he sincerely apologized for that. He is ashamed that he made her go through these terrible things while we were staying with them. Where did you ask the mistress to tell you what punishment she wanted for him? And he would humbly accept it. Robelia was shocked that he had spoken to the butler, but she was really okay. She told him that she understood him and that he shouldn't worry too much about what happened, because if you look at the truth, it wasn't his mistake. Geralt was grateful to the lady and promised to make every effort to ensure that life in the estate would flow without flaws from now on. And if there was anything needed, she could tell him at any time. The maids called the lady and said that they had prepared everything as the mistress had asked. When the maids were finished, they noticed that their mistress was a completely different person. Now she was Catherine Hayward. This is the form she will use in Meodanion. The butler noted that it was definitely not Lady Robelia he saw. Gereminus asked the maid to stop for a moment. He would follow her if she let him go. The maid said that she had brought him. The knight said that this was Lady Robelia's room. Gereminus asked the girl who she was. The maids were glad because he did not recognize her. One of them said that she was Lady Robelia. The lady also decided to greet the gentleman, and he was in complete shock. He couldn't believe that what she said about traveling on a separate ID was actually true. The maid remarked that they had simply put makeup on her, and they also planned to make him Robelia's brother, because he is responsible for the safety of this trip. The girl was shocked that it turns out that you can do this with makeup. She doesn't even recognize herself. The maid told the lady to try on a new identity and meet the Duke. It was necessary to make it so that her beloved did not recognize her, and Robelia, in turn, was very surprised. The man was grateful to his lordship for the discussion and said he would be leaving now. The Duke said he would report tomorrow whether it was accepted or not. We must return to the study and take care of everything else. The butler knocked on the door and told the gentleman that it was he. It seems that the gentleman is very busy today, so he made some tea that would help him sleep and asked the gentleman to taste it. Jade understood me completely what it was with the herald. He probably brought a special sleeping tea when he works. When the Duke looked at the red-haired girl, he immediately thought that it was Lady Robelia. The gentleman asked why Miss looked like that. The maids had said earlier that it couldn't be like that, and he certainly wouldn't recognize her. Robelia said the maids simply said they had made her up, so he wouldn't recognize her. The Duke was surprised that they did this so that he would not be able to recognize her, and therefore smiled. That's why they sent her to him in the game, and the man immediately knew that the maids did it. The lady didn't understand at all how he had guessed. Jade noted that they should have told her to change her perfume first because she smelled like her. Well, it wasn't just him. Harold was acting very strange, and that was the most noticeable thing. Today, the hot one gave her a fake ID, so he didn't expect it. But still the lady thought that he was rubbing himself since she changed her appearance. And all in vain. The Duke noted that it seemed to him that even if she had changed her perfume and he had met her on the street, I don't know anything, he would still have recognized her. They are connected only by a contract, but for him she is like salvation. Nightmares were dreamed every day. The curse manifested itself more and more often, and the Duke gradually lost the desire to fight him. The days when he turned into a monster were terrible. Robelia rescued him from such a life, and they never had a chance to talk properly. The Duke is grateful to her with all his heart for the peace of mind she has given him, so he sincerely intends to help her more than they agreed upon, to at least balance the contract, which is not leaning in her favor. Even though she said she doesn't trust anyone, he will try until she trusts him. So the Duke asked her to take care of herself because he would be waiting anyway. The maid was sent with the mistress and Gereminus. When they arrived, she was in complete shock because she saw a very beautiful ceiling. Gereminus pointed out that she was right. The glass ceiling at Ermont Station was famous for its beauty. The maid shouted that he had to stay in character and that his name was now Kelvin. The boy was scared, but immediately understood what to do. The maid shouted at him that she was his servant, so he should speak informally. Robelia wondered if everything was okay with these two. The training has been completed. Mary is in charge of makeup, as well as their servants, and Kelvin, that is Gereminus, is in charge of security. Robelia noted that this building was also built by her father. Mining and railroads are the main sources of income for the Ephelentia family. Previously, there were no railways or trains in the empire, and my father was keen on traveling at that time. As soon as he saw them, and having received permission from the imperial family, he began to import them. It's just a station where the train stops, but my father was so dedicated to his work that he put so much effort into its construction. Whatever she needs to get this Ermont station back to. The knight noted that they had arrived. Gereminus asked his mistress to get up, and the maid noticed that they were now behaving like real brother and sister. Mary said that she was with them too. It was time to go to Merdanian, so we had to hurry. The compartment was very luxurious, and the lady could not believe that everything was shaking just as much as before. Mary remarked that it had been 4 days, and she was still not feeling any better. Gereminus informed the lady that he had brought lemon water and peppermint drops. Robelia said she wanted to rest for a bit, so she closed her eyes. Mary was shocked that she was so sick. It seems that the lady is having a hard time traveling. Mary pointed out that they could have sent a representative instead of going to the mines in person. Gereminus himself doesn't understand it. The representatives would not be able to do what the lady is going to do. Somehow, I don't know, she was able to become a representative of the palace, but she has neither status nor experience, so no one expects much from her.
So Robelia is going to try hard if the mines really become the property of her more trust.
Mary said that then the lady should cheer up quickly and Jeremiah said that she should eat some more sugar. Be that as it may, she needs Mary and Jeremy's help for the future business. The knight promised to do everything in his power, and the maid agreed with him, and also promised. The lady noted that if we talk briefly about the upcoming business, she will buy one mine. Everything is legal, and they don't need any extra noise, so they have to be careful that their identities are not revealed. And she is also going to find one person. Suddenly, the train began to brake sharply, and there was a commotion inside. Even during the stop, it was shaking incredibly. The conductor informed the passengers that they had arrived in the western mining region, Merdanian. Hotel Merdanion. Mary thought they were going to die. As soon as they got off the train, the traders came flying in from all sides. It could happen that the wig could fly off the lady, and then they wouldn't even know what they would do. Mary was so worried about that. Robelia, who thought about this? I wonder what would have happened if they had been exposed immediately upon arrival. Jeremiah noted that the merchants were too pushy, and Solyanka said that Sir was like a flattened pie. Mary finally got everything laid out. The lady said she did a great job. Now that the luggage is finished, if the lady still has strength, they can go and look around Merdanian. The maid was shocked that the mistress wanted to do it right now, because she didn't expect that she had so much energy. The knight asked about the lady and where they were going. Robelia noted that it was evening, so they were going to eat. Mary was very happy because they would have dinner in a new region, but she was shocked when she saw where this dinner would be. Robelia thought they were bankrupt. The knight asked her to wait here. He would see if they were working or not. When the lady looked around the corner, she noticed a man saying that his family had already borrowed 10 million. The guy was shocked because the gentleman said 10 million. But they only took 2. The man said that if they lent, they should return it with interest, because they do not pay. The man shouted for him to give him at least 3,000. He said that he really didn't have it. Well, he came here for a drink, and he's not going to give it back. Suddenly, a man came up behind her. The stranger noted that he had not seen this girl in Merdanian before, and that she had arrived at an untimely time. One screamed that she was hiding here like a rat, and she probably knew that bastard Joel. Another said that she was just passing by. Larry shouted for him to take his dirty hands off the lady. But the stranger immediately threw her away. Robelia immediately rushed after the maid, but the man grabbed her by the hand. The servant told the master that he would lay out the documents in his office. Jade asked him to put the ones concerning Merdanian separately. The gentleman was sure that Robelia was doing well. The stranger then noted that he had not come across a large catch for a long time. He was very curious how much they would give for such a girl. Robelia didn't even know what to do. The man said that even if not, things weren't going well, so she'd do. If this continues, they might be exposed. So the lady hit the man on the legs. Robelia realized that she had to call Sir Jeremiah quickly. The stranger became very angry and shouted that he would kill her. At that very moment, something hit him in the face. It was Jeremiah who was apologizing for coming so late. His ally was shocked that he lost, so he didn't know what to do now. He hadn't even called any of the guys yet, so he decided he needed to get away quickly. He shouted after them that he remembered them. Robelia approached Mary and asked if the liana was okay, since it had fallen because of the lady. The girl said that everything was fine, only her clothes were dirty. She was very upset because the mistress's hands were wounded. Jeremiah said he would call a doctor, but the lady said it was not necessary because everything was fine, and it was just a small bruise, it would quickly pass. Robelia needed to talk to someone, and then she approached the man and asked if this gentleman was Joel Primer. The man turned to her and asked again who she was to know him. Joel Primer is Silverstone's son. The lady noted that Silverstone's son is the same as she read in the original. Robelia said that she came because she had a favor to ask of him. Joel was surprised and noted that, as she herself could see, he was barely making ends meet, and he also did not know how she knew his name. Robelia said that he had a debt of 10 million, and she would pay that amount. In return, he would arrange for her to meet his father, Silverstone. The boy was surprised. He couldn't believe that they had sent people from there, and asked if he should bring her to her father, knowing what she was going to do. Joel said that if they think he's going to sell out his family, that's not true, and they can just think he's a fool, and they'd better kill him like you do idiots. They did not understand at all why they would beat someone and ask him to listen, because it seemed there was a misunderstanding. There's nothing she can do, she might lose it, but for the sake of the plan, there's nothing left to do but give it to someone else now. Robelia asked him to give this to Silverstone. She really wants his father to see it. Well then, he will decide whether to meet with her or not. 10 million, just for the transfer of this thing. The gentleman has nothing to lose. They were staying at the Hotel Schwerin, and if he wanted, he could ask Catherine Hayard there. Notable points. From an aristocratic family that went bankrupt and moved to the provinces several generations ago, now a commoner. Great, they were going to buy the 9th mine, which was causing him nothing but trouble. Gereminos was wearing expensive clothes, borrowed from the Duke. The man tried to calm down, because until the stamp was put, nothing was sold. As far as he knows, the Hayard family went bankrupt several generations ago, so he wonders how they got the capital to buy it. Gereminos asked the gentleman why he was asking about someone else's property. He did not understand what kind of look this was for a commoner. And then the gentleman apologized, because as a seller, he must ensure the solvency of the buyers before the contract. Robelia said that they had recently discovered their great-grandfather's inheritance, government bonds of the Western Kingdom, and then provided the document. Why do they say and said that a few years ago there was a real silk boom? Some of those who find wealth out of the blue are very lucky. The seller said that this was a very good solution. If he had his father's bonds, he would have bought such a mine himself. Robelia noted that they thought it was just a piece of paper and were about to throw it into the fire, but her father recognized the seal of the Western Kingdom. By this time, huge interest should have accrued. The seller was very happy because he got very naive buyers. They don't understand anything at all. We don't understand the value of the money that fell on them. First, he drew up a draft of the contract, so they asked to read it. They weren't sure that everything was in order, but the gentleman said that they needed to read it anyway. Viscount Roan has no idea, and for him 700 million seems like a sum that fell to him by chance. But for her, it is extremely cheap. The lady said that everything seemed to be fine with the contract. The salesman smiled and told her to firmly put her stamp on it. The seller thought that they would manage in 5 days. During this time, he would report this matter to Count Effalentia, and having received his permission, he would definitely sell them the 9th mine. The lady was surprised that it would only take 5 days, because she thought it usually took 2 weeks. Gereminos noted that no matter how fast the train was, it would take a week there and back. The shopkeeper said the Count would be visiting soon, and he was going to report to him personally. Robelia tensed up a little when she realized that the Count would come in person. He will arrive with Lady Ina. This was definitely not the case in the original. It has been at least 3 years since Ina started her first business in the mines, and the remark appeared that she was going to Merdanian for the first time. She suggested digging a little deeper into mine number 9, whose work had been stopped due to a huge deficit. In just 1 week, she received a huge amount of money, so the lady did not quite understand why everything had changed, and did not want to believe in a bad outcome. Maybe it's because she doesn't act like she did in the original. We need to find out. Malon told Aina that he raised her like a bird in a luxurious cage. This time she must look closely at everything in Merdanion. Look at what business he is doing to preserve the Effalentian line, and also so that she would know how her honor was created. Aina lowered her eyes and obeyed her father. Effalentius's office in Merdanion. The man said that he could ask as much as he wanted, but he wouldn't be able to hire him again because an old man like him couldn't work in the mine. The man said that he wasn't asking for himself. He could hire the young guys who worked under him again. The man said that he would even kneel if the master wanted it. They are not doing business, but ingratitude here. Therefore, people must have a conscience. 15 years ago, he miscalculated. It was unfair, and the accusation. I told you he didn't look like the type of person who would do something like that after decades of devotion to the Effalentia family. The man said that he was fed up. If he wanted to, he could do the work for him. In any case, he didn't know anything, and it was time for him to go. Joel approached his father. He didn't quite understand what he was doing there, and the guy said that he had business with him. He didn't even know if it would be right to give it to his father now, and his father asked him again what he was doing. There Joel said that someone had asked him to give this to him. The gentleman realized that this was Mrs. Julia's pendant, and then he asked who had told him to give it to him. Geremimus told the lady that regarding her request, even in the Information Guild, he could not find out anything about the daughter of Count Effalentius, besides the fact that she will be attending Baroness Ebien's party. And then the gentleman asked if he needed to find out more information. But the lady said that it was not necessary because everything was fine. If Ina came to Merdanian because she behaved differently than in the original, then the events of that day were probably the reason. There would be other reasons, there would be information, but since there is none, the lady thinks that Malone brought her in order to restore her position. After all, in Merdanian, where Effalentius's influence is the strongest, Ina's popularity will quickly rise, and only in this situation will they be able to settle all the affairs in the capital. Geremimus said that in that case, he would plan everything so as not to accidentally run into the Count. The lady was not sure that she would not be able to meet him. The maid informed the mistress that she was entering and added that Mr. Silverstone Primer had arrived. Joel was shocked that everything inside was so huge. Robelia asked the mister to pass. Joel was completely horrified and began asking who she even was. He didn't want to believe that he had been deceived, and Silverstone recognized her as the daughter of Count Effalentius. He didn't understand at all how the lady ended up here, and the guy was shocked that they actually knew each other. Robelia noted that she had come to see him. They asked their son to leave the room, and the knight and the maid also left. Robelia asked him if he could tell her about that time. After the death of Count Effalentia, that is James Silverstone, did not obey Malone, and he fired him, accusing him of embezzling state funds. And even the miners who worked under his leadership were fired for various reasons. And since all the business in the mines was in the hands of Effalentius, none of them could get a job anymore. As a result, half of them left Merdanian with their families. Silverstone went to Malone and asked him to hire at least other people again, but received only humiliation and ridicule for his position. Robelia was shocked with you how low Malone had sunk. Silverstone is one of the few who didn't bow down to Malone after his father's death. At the source, he also found Robelia and asked her to return the business in the mines in an honest way. Robelia was a villain and had no intention of helping others, but now things are different. The girl said that she too fell for his trick and believed that she was an illegitimate child. But shortly before her death, Mom told about how Malone took everything from them through tricks and violence, so she is going to return all the property that belonged to her. And after that, she will repay Malone for all his actions with something worse than death. This girl, she has been through a lot during this time. To do this, she needs to start by getting the business back in the mines, and she needs Mr. Primer's help. Robelia also plans to get back what he lost. This is the lease agreement. The lady asked if he could gather people together again and work in the mine for her. Silverstone told the lady that the offer was inappropriate, as he was already committed to her. He also asked her to call him simply Silverstone. He swore allegiance to James as his benefactor and would believe and follow his daughter's words without any doubt. Robelia knew that he was devoted to his father, but not to that extent. He trusted her, whom he saw for the first time today, just as much as he trusted his father. The girl didn't understand how it was possible and understood that perhaps loyalty really did exist. Joel, meanwhile, didn't understand why they even went out, and the maid told him to be quiet because they had an important conversation. I need to tell them both about what happened today. They've already refused 3 times. Mary was very tired and said that she only needed to sign the contract for the mine. But for some reason, the lady said that she would go to the party. The owner was very pleased when he saw Mr. Kelvin and Miss Catherine come. The lady was surprised that he was waiting for them at the hotel. He stuck to her like a bath leaf. The seller said that they went out for a walk, and the weather was so nice, and it was perfect for walking. They just happened to meet. It was definitely fate, so he decided to give them invitations to the party. They had already refused to go 3 times, and they had not met by chance. The seller said that it was their first time here, that's why they refused. This is Merdanian. They should get used to enjoying parties with aristocrats and simple businessmen. Kelvin said that parties were not their thing. The shop assistant insisted that if the gentleman couldn't come, Lady Catherine could come instead. The seller said he would keep in mind that they would come. In the end, they accepted it. Mary didn't understand at all how the earth could bear such people. Geremimus said that everything was fine, and he could go himself. At the party, she would be introduced to Count Ephelentius. The lady said that it was not worth it. There was always a chance of getting caught, and if it was necessary to meet with him for the contract, then she would meet. Robelia decided to take this risk. At the party, word came that Lady Catherine hired had arrived. It seemed that Malone was not there yet. She heard a man saying that he was late because of business. If he had known that he would meet a girl like her, he would have rushed here earlier. She had an unfamiliar face, so he assumed she was alone here. Robelia didn't understand what it was. It would be tiring to contact him, so she asked for forgiveness, but the man said that first she had to hear his name. She could refuse later. This is Theodore, the eldest son of Count Legretin. He wants to dance with her. That's why he asked her what family she is from. Robelia noted that it seemed he was mistaken because she was a commoner. The man was shocked with you that she had deceived him. Everyone started talking about Mr. Theodore, and Alan looked in that direction. The lady who was talking to Alan did not understand what was going on. The gentleman asked him to forgive her because he needed to go away. Theodore did not understand at all how a despised commoner dared to pretend to be an aristocrat. Robelia didn't understand what was going on because she hadn't done anything. Theodore didn't understand at all what she meant by didn't do anything. Alan, in front of the girl, and apologized to his brother. Here I did not understand where he came from. Here, Alan said that this girl was his partner. The lady was very surprised when she saw him. Robelia knew he couldn't recognize her. Alan remarked that she looked like Catherine of the Haired family. He apologizes for his brother. He made a big mistake. The lady said that it is not worth it. On the contrary, she is grateful that he helped her. Robelia was glad he didn't recognize her. He just wanted to interrupt my dignified older brother behavior. The lady thinks that the place of heir will go to the younger brother. It turned out so awkward. The brother always disgraces them. So the gentleman asked her to stay with him for a little while, if you don't mind. They will have something like a temporary partnership. Robelia thought that he was pretending to be nice to everyone, but it seems that this is not so. Malone said that Ina is the head of their branch in Merdanian. Alan noted that it seemed like the Ephelentia had arrived since it was so noisy. He also asked the lady if she was interested in them. The girl asked if there was anyone among the entrepreneurs who did not know about the Count's family. The gentleman noted that she was right, because it was a legendary family. The lady thought that he was interested in Ina. Alan said he didn't know. They say if the bonds are reliable and she has confidence in them, then she should take them at any cost. Well, lately he's been wondering if that's right. There's been something that's bothering him. Robelia didn't understand at all why he suddenly started talking about bonds. Probably rumors had already reached Hired about his success with them. Therefore, the lady asked him again whether he should talk about the bonds of the Western Kingdom. The gentleman said that nothing of the sort, and noted that she had asked about Lady Aina. If she wants to talk to the Count, then first, you need to start a conversation with her. She is greedy for attention, so she will not ignore it. If she's lucky, the Count will be interested in her. I don't think he was talking about bonds. It seems that brother has become interested in something else. So now the lady can go. Robelia did not understand at all what kind of politics of choice this was. The lady said that she would go, and also thanked the gentleman for his help. He was seeing her for the first time, so he didn't quite understand why he was talking such nonsense. He even blushed from it. Lady Anna's arrival in Merdanian is probably for her studies. Many believed that she was actually going to begin her studies as an heir. Robelia realized that instead of the position of palace representative, she would be given the business in the mines. That happened about 3 years earlier. In the future, she should also keep in mind how nervous Malone will be when his property is taken away. He is a mean man, so you can't know where she will jump from. The shopkeeper didn't even know where Lady Catherine was. And then he found and asked the lady to come to him because he wanted to introduce her to the Count. The Viscount told his lordship that, as he had said, this was the daughter of the Hayard family. She wished to purchase the 9th mine with the bonds of the Western Kingdom. The Duke realized that this was the same customer and asked her to come closer. Despite all her determination, the fear lingers in her memory. Everything is in order. The disguise is perfect. She needs to look sincere. They say she got rich on bonds. Mine 9 has the biggest potential. He values it the most, so she is going to buy it. She is a real genius in investments. This is the most different from what he usually says. The lady said that it was an honor for her to meet him. After this, the lady greeted and bowed to the gentleman, and he did not understand why she was sweating. Meanwhile, the maid and the knights sat together. Mary said that nothing would come of it. Gereminus thought so he decided to go meet her. Malone didn't understand why sweat was pouring off her. The lady was very worried that perhaps he recognized her. The gentleman noted that young entrepreneurs are so nervous when they start their first big business. He didn't notice anything. The master told her to leave, her fear, because people live in this place too. True, he could pretend to be a nervous businessman. However, he admires her intelligence because she intends to buy this mine for 700 million. Some people claim that there is nothing there, but she should not believe it. Who knows, perhaps there will be an untold amount of gold there if she buys it. Robelia became interested in how he would seal it if she refused to sign the contract. The gentleman said that he would sign the contract right now and asked the Viscount to bring the documents quickly. He would put his signature right there. Robelia didn't understand what Anna was doing here and why she wasn't in the banquet hall now. She had to quickly greet the lady before passing by. Otherwise, she might get caught. Anna called her sister, and the lady was very scared and did not understand what she was talking about. Anna said that it was Robelia, but the girl took her hand back and said that she was mistaken. Anna asked for forgiveness and added that she just said it because she wanted to say it. Suddenly, Gereminus and Mary ran up to her. He said that she hadn't returned for a long time, so he came to meet her, and also asked if he was disturbing. The lady said that everything was fine, and she believed that the lady mistook her for someone else, after which she apologized and said that she would leave. Ina told her not to worry, because she would not tell anyone about her secret if she did not want to. Malone didn't notice anything, but Ina definitely recognized her. Robelia heard that this girl was fixated on Robelia. This was already strange. It seemed that she didn't know her as well as she thought. Robelia remarked that now that she thought about it, she wondered how they had ended up here. The maid said that they were just worried about her and came here. Gereminus said that they were very worried and came, and suddenly Mary saw the contract in the lady's hands. Robelia said that they had made an agreement that if they paid the remaining money tomorrow, the mine would be hers entirely. Gereminus noticed that the lady had worked so hard all this time, so he had prepared a special dish today. The lady was surprised, and the maid now understood why the knight chose the ingredients himself today. Mary said that she was a servant of the Parado family and could not lose, so they would have a cooking duel. And so unexpectedly, the culinary battle began. The maid's dish didn't quite turn out. Mary thought it was strange, because Hilda seemed to do everything the same way, but she did it better. To be honest, she was never responsible for cooking. Her duties included serving guests. Well, Mary never thought that she would lose to Sir Geremimus the knight. For some reason, the Lord felt betrayed when she heard about serving guests, and she also told the lady that she had done her job wonderfully. Mary suggested that they quickly try what the knight Geremimus had prepared. Robelia noted that it was indeed delicious, but he was busy training, so she wondered when he learned to cook. Geremimus said he used to cook every day with his younger siblings to feed them. Yes, after he started working for the Duke, their family's situation improved, and there was no longer any need for that. Mary didn't even know about it, and also noticed that he was now Lady Robelia's older brother. You most likely felt like you were cooking for your little sister again. Geremimus doesn't like it, so he says he'll go get some salt. Mary is not happy because he went to get some salt at night. Geremimus didn't understand what was wrong with him. He certainly didn't have any ill feelings towards Lady Robelia. Why did you for a moment have the thought that he doesn't like her? But in the future, he needs to be more careful, because even thinking like that is rude. After all, a trifling word can hurt. The boys were very happy, because now they could work again. Silverstone noted that this time the mine belongs to Ephelentia, so they will definitely be able to work. Today, all the drinks are on him. They decided to drink everything that was there. The Duke told the Viscount that he had made a fine bargain, Rowan, that it was an honor to contribute to his master's business. Malone never thought there would be fools who would buy a dead mine. This trip to Merdanian promises good results, and Malone is very pleased with himself. Merdanian Bank. The gentleman reported that everything was correct. The lady was grateful for waiting. She said that after checking the bank check and the contents, they would complete the transaction. The deal is between Mr. Hayerdos and the head of the Ephelentia branch in Merdanian, Viscount Rowan. He is going to buy the 9th mine for 700,000. Kelvin confirmed that everything was so adding that he also did not notice any errors. The bank employees said that they would send a certificate about the change of owner of the 9th mine. The Viscount did not believe that it would really come to a deal. For the sake of this conversation, they recalled their workers from the mine in advance so they could start work immediately. The Viscount remarked that he would pray that they would find the gold mine as soon as possible, and noted that they would certainly be able to develop the mine. Geremimus noticed that he could no longer hold any of the girls after the contract was signed, so he said he would go. And he was also grateful for the excellent deal. With a smile, the Viscount said goodbye to him. The gentleman provided a copy of the certificate with which he will be able to enter the mine. Joel thought he should tell her father. The gentleman said that if he said it was Catherine's request, he would get to work right away. Joel realized that this place was a closed mine. The guys, when they looked at this mine, asked the boss if this was true. Silverstone ordered him to watch his language, for he had probably forgotten that they were akin to benefactors to them. It is he, as the boss, who must stop ordering and think soberly. He is pushing ahead like a bulldozer. This is really the 9th mine. Joel asked her father if this girl really isn't a liar. The father was shocked that his son thought the same. The boy noted that buying a closed mine at such a high price, there was no way to explain this, except that she had been deceived by this count, just like that time. Buy exactly the most hopeless mine. What should they do? Now perhaps go to the employment agency again, but they don't take them. Silverstone offered to dig them. The guys said he was crazy, because how could they dig a mine that was closed? Ephelentia hasn't worked here since last year. There can't be any gold mine here. Robelia said she would appear. Mary told the lady that the knight had said the mine was closed. 5 minutes ago, Jeremiah said that Joel told him that the mine was closed. The maid was horrified when she found out about it. Robelia asked the lady if she had heard a similar parable about a treasure hunter who would have found treasure if he had taken just one step, but he got tired and did not take it. Jeremias noted that this was an old story and that his grandmother had told it to him as a child. Mary asked what happened next. it seemed that a porter had appeared. The traveler and the porter set out on a journey to find the treasure, but the greedy traveler did not go far, and having taken all the things that he could get money for, he turned back alone. The porter, left alone, in an unfamiliar place without his belongings, wandered around the area for another week, and finally found the treasure. That's why the lady is going to be a porter. She thinks they'll be very surprised when they find out how much gold is buried there. Mary thought the lady was very cool, and the knight thought about it. Robelia asked if they were saying that the miners were gathering at the mine. The knight said that they were saying that the condition of the land needed to be checked, and she immediately said that they needed to go and convinced them that gold would appear in this mine. Mary told them to come back quickly, and she would stay and clean up here. Robelia is the owner of that mine, and the miners wonder if she even knew what kind of place it was when she bought it. Silverstone couldn't calm him down. The man said that there wasn't even any ore, let alone gold. Thompson told the chief that he was trying to control himself. He began asking the lady how she would justify not being able to pay them when she found nothing here. The miners noticed that he was right. Robelia told them that there had been a misunderstanding. Whether there is gold in the mine or not, they will be paid according to the contract. And now, they will focus on developing this place. If they promise to work on the extraction, she will pay them a year's salary in advance. After this, the lady asked what they thought about this. The man decided to start working right away. He had just recently been shouting that he wouldn't do it, but in the end, he came anyway. The man said that the money was not small, and that he would not be paid a year in advance anywhere else. And if they dig, they will say later that there is no money. They can just leave. Silverstone told the lady that she was so reckless. The lady asked for forgiveness. She asked him for a favor without explaining anything. The gentleman noticed that she really did look like James, so the girl decided to ask what her father was like. Silverstone said there was no one in the world more reckless than him, but he never lost. Even if sometimes things turned out the way he expected, he always had the strength to turn it to his advantage. And it seems to him that the lady also has this strength. Robelia was very grateful to the man for believing in her. The 9th mine would not be a failure. What an untold treasure that the greedy traveler missed, hastily choosing the benefit that was in sight will become the 9th mine. Robelia was very interested in the Count's expression on all this. A week later, Germanicus wrote a letter to the esteemed Duke because he wanted to report to him about life in Merdonian. The first day passed peacefully, except for a small skirmish with local bandits. As planned, they succeeded in purchasing the 9th mine and began development. And a week later, as Lady Robelia had predicted, the miners found gold. Gold appeared, and the knight told about it in a letter because he thought it was amazing. A new deposit has opened. The man heard that the reserves there are huge. This is the first such deposit in 7 years. The man asked what mine he was talking about. The other replied that he should know about the case when Ephelentia struck gold. The previous Count of Ephelentia gained great wealth from the gold mining of the 2nd mine. He is a figure who stirred the fire in the hearts of entrepreneurs. This is true, as in the 2nd mine, they dug up in the 9th as well. The man was in complete shock when he heard about this, and screamed, asking if it was really in the 9th, and was outraged that it was the Ephelentia mine again. Only they are capable of this. The man noted that no one really knows about this yet, but the owner of this mine had recently changed. They say that these are some young brothers and their sister from the common people. The Viscount understood that this was impossible, and he needed to return the 9th mine before the Count found out about it. The Viscount can pull the wool over the eyes of this blockhead. Rumors quickly spread throughout the city. The Viscount came to meet the Hayards. The knight wrote that the Viscount had come. The lady was surprised that he was offering to sell the mine back to him. The Viscount said he would buy it for 2 billion, even 25 billion. He said there was no guarantee that more gold would appear, and she hadn't even paid off her debts. He is going to buy the mine and is offering a ridiculous sum of 2.5 billion. The Viscount said that even if they found more gold, it would cost a pretty penny. But if 25 billion was enough, he would write a check right here and now. Robelia said that if they mined the gold properly, they would recoup the money in 6 months. It turns out that she looks like a fool to sell the mine for such a price, and it's such a pity. The lady also asked the Viscount to return to his place. He could not believe it, because these people were newcomers who did not understand anything about business. At last, he left, and the lady was very glad. The knight remarked that it seemed he still had a feeling of shame. The Viscount was refused, and humbly withdrew. In Merdanian, things are going smoothly, as required. Therefore, the Duke need not worry, and the knight also wished him good health. The Duke was glad, because it seemed they were coping. And the butler was also very glad to hear about it. The shop assistant noted that the gentleman immediately noticed the beautiful item and added that it was the last one left. At first, the Duke did not understand what he was talking about, but then he remembered that he had chosen to give a gift and also to inspect it. The seller asked the gentleman who he was going to give this to, perhaps his girlfriend. Well, the gentleman said that it wasn't his girlfriend. The salesman pointed out that he just hadn't confessed yet. Jade started to say that it wasn't so, but the seller noted that he was still embarrassed, and no matter what he would say, that this bracelet brings good luck. If you wear it, it will protect you from great misfortune, and will be a great gift for a declaration of love. Suddenly, the gentleman noticed a monster holding Robelia in its hands. The servant shouted for the master to move away, and Robelia was the master and asked for help. He immediately took out his sword. His other side asked if he would really save that girl. He must think about his curse. Not only will he not be able to save her, he will turn into a monster if he grabs the sword. And when the Duke becomes a monster, he will kill her with his own hands. The Duke woke up with a letter in his hands. Then he went out, and the butler was standing outside the door. Geralt told the master that he would not allow him because he had spent the last 15 days earning money, because he also could not sleep. Therefore, the gentleman needs to rest because his body will weaken. The Duke turned to the butler and told him to get out of the way. At the boutique, Rose welcomed Count Effalentia and his daughter. They closed for a break to serve the Count. The gentleman said that they had come to look at a modest dress that would cheer up his daughter, but he did not understand why no one was there. They wanted him to be comfortable, and made room as soon as they heard he was coming. The Count was very happy, and thanked him for this, and also asked his daughter how she was, and whether her mood had improved. The saleswoman told the lady that this is the most popular style in Merdanian. It looks first class, and at the same time can give a feeling of uniqueness. Therefore, she can recommend it with full confidence. Aina noted that this is really the first time she has seen a dress with such a design. The lady said that she was very beautiful, but immediately remembered her father's words that everything their family had was not her property. After that, he hit her in the face and said that he gave her all this. That's why her face immediately changed. The saleswoman offered to show me another style, because the atmosphere had suddenly changed. Meanwhile, the Count also found a dress for her and asked how she liked it, since Papa himself chose it for her, so he asked her to try it on. When she tried it on, he couldn't believe that it was his daughter, because she was very beautiful. The Count also asked them to bring the dress she was looking at. The saleswoman said they would show more, but asked her to wait a minute. The father asked if she liked the dress. She said it was when he raised his hand to stroke her head, and then she remembered that moment again. He noted that he was making money for his daughter, all in order to make her daughter happy, so she asks to listen to Daddy and fix one little thing. That's right, he behaves as before. It's just that that incident made Father very angry because she behaved incorrectly with Her Majesty. Aina realized that it couldn't be that her father, who treated her so well, didn't love her. She couldn't hide such mistakes anymore. The saleswomen were grateful to the gentleman for choosing their shop. The Count noted that they had worked hard, and thanks to them, his daughter had fun. They also asked the Count to accept their congratulations because she had heard that gold had appeared in the 9th mine, and this was Effalentia's business. So they started congratulating each other that after 7 years, a new gold mine had been found. His insight could not be surpassed. The Count was in complete shock and asked again what she was saying. The Viscount didn't understand at all how to tell the Count the man really wanted it to just be a dream. Or better yet, faint. Suddenly the man met the Viscount and said that the Count was looking for him. Gold appeared, and what's more, the deposits were larger than those in the second mine. The Viscount said that he came to them and offered $2.5 billion to buy it out, but was categorically refused. The Count grabbed the mug and threw it near the Viscount, shouting that he was a useless cretin because he just ran away from them and now says that the value of the mine is even higher. He did not understand at all how they could develop it so that in a week gold appeared. How many hundreds of millions did he invest there? And still, just 5 years ago, he was a laughing stock because of the ninth mine, because he went into a huge minus. And now, the puppies who know nothing are getting it for free. The Viscount began to ask for forgiveness. Because he thought he had made a mistake, the Count asked him to check again whether their family had really gone bankrupt. If not with money, then he will find another way to get everything back. Joel asked Geremimus where to put the development document. Then he asked him to give it to him. Robelia suddenly looked at her hand and realized that she was not wearing a bracelet. She had no idea when she had managed to lose the bracelet that the Duke had given her. She remembered that she was attacked then, and it was probably because she was suddenly grabbed by the arm. Mary asked the lady if something was wrong, and the lady said that she wanted to go get some fresh air. Good thing it's nearby. Robelia said they'd finish the rest of the work when she got back so they could take a little break now. The girl asked what she was saying. She would just count the volume of production, and that would be it. After all, she called her a good worker. The other guy told her not to get cocky because he was almost done too. Mary told everyone to rest because they could do everything later. I was grateful to her, and when I walked down the street, I was able to find my bracelet. It's unbuttoned and loose. Looks like it could be fixed. Suddenly, her brother called her and said that he came for her just in case, so that nothing happened. They finally finished. The maid was surprised that they had already returned. The miner ran into the room and reported that there was a fire in the mine warehouse. Several miners are trapped inside. They are short of people. They are very surprised and do not understand what is happening. Joel went there immediately. There was only one lady's maid left, and she was told to call the people instead, and the lady. Joel came in to help them. They need to put out the fire at the entrance, so they need to hurry. Joel came out. He pulled the man out. There's another man inside. The miner asked for at least someone to help him because he was feeling very bad. Geremimus doused himself with water and said he was going to go. The one the guy pulled out passed out. The lady said to put him on the ground. The condition is worse than Robelia thought. He inhaled too much smoke, so we need to rinse his mouth with water. Robelia promised to bring a doctor, but she did not understand at all why the fire broke out so suddenly. She wondered if there was anything that could have caught fire in the warehouse, unless someone had done it on purpose. Perhaps someone was sick with his oil and set it on fire. But now is not the time to think about it. Robelia also realized that it could be the Count. She was caught when she ran for the doctor. They poured water on her, and the lady woke up and didn't understand where she was. The guys were glad that she woke up. Robelia immediately realized who it was. The guy noted that it was him and thought that she saw a familiar face. He too was surprised and could never have imagined that they would see each other again under such circumstances. But he was going to. It was still good that she cried to him in this way. He noted that this was fate, and they would do everything quickly. He gave her an application for a change of ownership of Mine 9 and ordered her to sign it. She must understand that this is a statement about a change of ownership of the 9th mine. The lady tried to come to her senses. She needed to find a way to get out of here alive. Pretty alien Zenki shouldn't be doing miner's work. It's a very rough occupation for grown-up uncles here. At first, she decided to stall for time. The man said that she should just sign, and then he would let her go. Robelia did not understand at all how she could believe this. The man noted that it was very sad that she did not believe the bandits' words. To be honest, they do not like torture and a lot of blood, and that is why they only grabbed her. She doesn't even know how much he racked his brain over how to get that guy out of the way. Now she understood why the fire had happened. According to the customer's terms, they had to get a signature on the contract, and that was it. That's why she shouldn't take him out, and that's why she needs to sign. They won't be able to take the mine away that way anyway. The problem is that she might not survive. He needs to remain so carefree. Robelia said that was good. The man remarked that it was excellent, so she should sign, and then they would go their separate ways. The man noticed that she had tried so hard, and now he ordered her to be gotten rid of. The man apologized because shutting her mouth was also the customer's condition. The man attacked her with a knife, but the lady threw him away and fell. The guy noted that they said they would let him go right away. It's good that it turned out that way. He also prefers doing it with his bare hands. He began to strangle the lady, and awareness was leaving her with every second. But suddenly someone hit that man. It was the Duke of Perado. The lady was very surprised, and he immediately turned to Robelia. There is no one else left inside. His condition is better than Kelvin thought. Luckily, he wasn't badly hurt, but it's really weird. Nothing here should have caught fire. This is the first time in 30 years that the gentleman has heard of a warehouse catching fire. Gereminus asked if this was really the first fire. He confirmed it and added that the warehouse only contained pickaxes, so it was not entirely clear what could have happened there. If a spark flares up, it will immediately go out. The fire itself could not appear in the warehouse, so it is something else. Suddenly, the knight asked where the lady was. Mary told him that she had gone to get a doctor. It seemed that she had not returned for too long. Gereminus immediately ran in the direction the lady had gone. He urgently needed to find Robelia. The Duke asked the lady if she could stand up. Robelia confirmed this and said that she was very grateful. She told the Duke that it was the mine warehouse, so it could only be opened from the inside with a special key. The kidnappers must have taken him. They're unconscious outside. The Duke put the mantle on Robelia. The girl decided to ask him how he knew she was here, and even came. The Duke said that she had sent a letter asking for help. That was why he had come. The lady said that he didn't have to come to sort everything out. The Duke said he was not sure what was in the letter, because he had not read it. Robelia smiled and said that he had looked at it. The Duke said that she had written that she needed help. She thought that since Malone had missed out on a mine that had become a jackpot for penniless commoners, he would definitely do something about it. He will send people with threats, drive them into a dead end, and force them to leave the mine. So she planned to frame it as a sale to his lordship, who had heard rumors about the 9th mine. Because if the mine became his property, Malone would no longer be able to interfere. That's what the letter said. But in the end, what she feared happened first. It seems she made a mistake. She didn't think they would want to start with murder without even trying other methods. The vile Viscount went for it, but she did not understand at all how the Duke knew that she had been captured and came to her aid. The gentleman said that he found her as soon as he arrived, but he was followed by suspicious men, so he followed them. That's how he ended up here, but in the end, he still couldn't help as he was supposed to. Robelia thanked his lordship for saving her. The lord asked if she would thank him even if they were locked in. This is exactly the case, so we need to think about how to get them out. Robelia remembered her bracelet, but did not see it on her hand. Still, the lady was sure that she had picked it up. Robelia asked for forgiveness because the bracelet he gave her seemed to have broken and gotten lost somewhere. The girl was upset because it was his gift. Pertsev thought about what would have happened if he hadn't had that dream. He wasn't sure he could come to this place. The Duke said there was nothing wrong with that. The main thing was that she was alive. In fact, he bought the bracelet when he went out to inspect his lands. It protects against troubles. But 4 days ago, when the bracelet broke, he had a dream that she was in danger. Then you personally came to Merdanion, because from that moment on, anxiety overcame him without any particular reason, and he could not sleep. So he wanted to make sure that she was not in any danger here. And thanks to her help, he did not have dreams well this time. In his dream, he helped her. It's just amazing. The Duke thinks that this vision also happened because of her magic. It seems that he couldn't sleep well. She is very sorry. Her magic really did disturb the Duke with its attention. To perceive this situation rationally, it is truly incredible. The lady noted that it was amazing, and also noticed that it seemed like someone was coming. It was the knight's voice. Mary and Silverstone were with him. Gereminus was very glad that the lady was safe, and also did not understand at all what His Highness the Duke was doing here. Robelia asked the chief if everything was okay with the miners. He confirmed it and said that they had settled everything with the warehouse safely. The chief could not believe that the lady had been kidnapped by kidnappers. He should have been more vigilant, because what would happen to her? Silverstone is ashamed to even look her in the eye. They all ended well, so the lady is grateful that they were so diligent in looking for her.
The maid said that they were really worried Gereminus told the mistress that she had dropped a bracelet on a forest path.
They found the tracks of a cart nearby and followed them. The lady was surprised when she saw the bracelet. He saved her twice. He also hates to tell her this, but there are signs of arson in the warehouse. Robelia noticed that the kidnappers immediately said that it was their doing. Therefore, the lady decided that it was necessary to find out who was behind this. Robelia sat with the gentleman while he slept. She no longer had such a serious face as before. Gereminus informed the mistress that he had cooked soup for her. The maid added that she had missed breakfast. This time she should eat well. The Duke would also be worried if she didn't eat anything. Robelia was very grateful and said that she would eat everything. Mary began to think that something was wrong, so she asked the lady if she was okay. Robelia said that everything was fine. She only has a bruise. More importantly, she's worried that the Duke hasn't woken up yet. Gereminus added that he was a duke, after all, so she shouldn't worry too much about him. Besides, due to the effects of the curse, he hardly slept for a very long time. In a few days, he will recover and wake up. Robelia thought about the consequences of the curse. In the original, very little was said about Jade's curse. The curse the mage cast was truly terrible. The nightmares soon became reality, and even after waking up from sleep, he continued to feel like a monster. And if he lost consciousness from helplessness and fatigue, he suffered in a nightmare that seemed like hell, that Jade had no chance to rest. Fatigue accumulated, and when the body reached its limit, the curse knocked its target into a coma. The more time passed, the more he, a former man, lost his will. He irrevocably became a monster and died quietly in his sleep. His condition has not worsened much in 2 days, so the lady can save him. There was such an appeal because the lady thought that complications had arisen. Since he did not wake up, Robelia would like to disperse around the aroma that promotes sleep. She also asked her maid to buy what she wrote on the piece of paper at the market. Mary told the lady that she could be counted on. Therefore, the lady was very grateful to her. The maid also asked that she be sure to eat the soup. Gereminus turned to the lady and asked if he could help in any way. The lady noted that he had taken the uniform of the knightly order with him. The gentleman said that this was so, and he had taken it just in case. Robelia asked him if he could go out into the city with her for a short while, because now we need the image of Gereminus. They discussed the plan with the superhero in advance. The lady decided to prepare everything before the Duke woke up.